Ladies and gentlemen, we have the Bible reading.
Read. I mean, not often. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, but the Bible living Kevin Christy in the house, dressing very aggressively. He's got the kind of tennis shoes that a Chinese badminton player or ping pong player wears.
Right.
Or tourist wears.
Okay.
Black socks, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
And you've got your slacks, but you are sporting a knife, a weapon.
I do. I brought a knife.
Yeah, and that's not for opening boxes. It's not like I was opening boxes all day, officer.
I do open a lot of boxes because I online shop a lot.
Okay, but you could open me up pretty quick with that thing.
If the shit hit the fan,
yeah,
I'm strapped. Because on a physical level, I know you can take me. I need something to maybe give me enough time to run.
Yeah, well, no,
I need to create the tiniest bit of hesitation in you.
No, I know, and there would be hesitation until I use my feet. You know what I'm saying, bro?
Yeah, no.
I mean, I'm going to neutralize that knife with my feet.
I know. My plan is running.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to feint. It's called a feint in the fight world. I'm going to feint. You're going to cut, but you're going to come up air.
Yeah.
And then what happens? You've overcommitted.
Everyone's plan breaks down.
Yeah.
I think about this thing a lot. You remember that letter you wrote to the guy about wanting to fight Will Sasso?
Yes, bear versus dog.
I think about that letter once every 2 weeks. And I think you wrote it like 12 years ago.
I did.
And there was a part where you're like, let me guess what your plan is. Kick the knee. You're like, that's every novice's plan.
Every novice's plan.
And I think about it all the time because the odds of...
Because it was Chad Kulchin, who's 5'8", 165, to fight Will Sasso, who's 330 and an athlete.
Sasso, I see, he lives in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
First of all, one of the funniest people on the planet.
Of all, yes, no doubt.
And that guy, every guy's like, because you look at him, you're like, well, I can't actually fight him.
No.
So I'm going to have to just attack the structure like I'm trying to bring down a building.
Yeah.
And so I'll go with the knee. The odds of connecting with the knee in the way, it's that same like, I'll just punch him in the esophagus. Okay.
Nah. And a guy like Will he's so big and he's so strong and he's so
agile.
And he's agile, but he's also got rage. Like you can uncork that rage.
Having that much talent and not being one of the most famous people in the world must create a fire.
Yeah, it does. Well, he's also got what he refers to as FTS. And that would be fat teenager syndrome.
It never goes away.
It never goes away.
A fat kid is always a fat kid on the inside.
Correct.
Forever.
Yeah. And when you watch the UFC and you watch guys break their feet, get their legs kicked, tear their ACL, and keep fighting, have their nose smashed. When the adrenaline's going, you're not stopping until you kill the guy. It's not like I'm going to kick Will Sasso in his knee and he's going to go, ah. Maybe if he's at a cocktail party and he's a little high and we're hanging out and I go, hey, and I kick really hard. He's gonna go, fuck.
Sasso kills you and doesn't realize it. And he wakes up and he's like, there's blood all over his hands. And he's like, what? And you're like, Will, everyone's dead. And he's like, oh no.
That's exactly how I see it.
Yeah.
I see him like, Will. Huh?
No.
Will.
Yeah. There is an episode. There's an episode of Cops from the 90s, and I think it's in Philly, and it's a naked man who's cruising at he's probably 6'5", looks about 250, like easy. He's completely naked and also like completely moist, head to toe in sweat, his own sweat because he's on meth.
So it's tough to hold on to.
Yeah, and 5 cops try to tackle him in a very narrow donut shop. And I think about it all the time where those cops got to be like, are you fucking kidding me?
Oh,
like,
you
this
earned
is
your
the
money
worst
that day.
Yeah, you earned your whole pension that day.
Yeah.
Because this guy's slippery like a fish.
And you could
he's
lose an eye or an ear.
It took 5 of them to get this guy down because he was humongous and he was feeling no pain.
Yeah, and did they tase the shit out of him first? You got to tase first.
I think they couldn't even get that close. They were like, the only like thing they could do was like, 5 of us had to rush him at once.
Yeah.
It was awful looking.
My buddy, these surfers he was surfing on the wrong wave. My buddy's very tough, and they were going to beat him up. And my buddy looked at them.
Is this some Venice locals only bullshit?
Yeah, and my buddy looked at him and went, somebody's going to lose an eye, somebody's going to lose a nose.
Yep.
Who's first? Mm-hmm. And one guy recognized him as this badass wrestler, and they were like, oh, actually, he's way too muscular and tall. Nah.
Yeah.
And they made fun of him.
Even if you could beat a guy up, it's like, well, it's going to be, okay. When I was about 19, we used to go to punk shows all the time. My buddy Justin, big dude, scholarship, or played football at UCLA.
That's D1.
6'2", 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Was into JiuJitsu in the early 90s. Like
with Hicks and Gracie and those guys.
Hicks and Gracie, Tank Abbott. Early days where you could do anything you want. You could use the fence. You could punch a guy in the nuts a million times.
Yes.
Justin Wunsch beat a guy up in 8th grade, and we were all like excited to see a fight. And 2 seconds after the fight started, we were all like, stop! Because it was so one-sided.
Yeah. Some dudes will close that gap and just, you're like, oh, wait, this is a gazelle with a lion. Yeah. Hey! And all you see the guy doing is flailing underneath the person.
It looked like a professional fighter was beating up a 3-legged dog.
That's what Schaub can do to pretty much anybody.
Yeah, it's just like, what do you, like, I remember.
Schaub could kill a PCP guy because he'd get him and choke him.
Yeah.
So no matter what you do, you're going to, when the blood stops going to your brain.
Yeah.
Which is what I train. I train only chokes, bro.
I can do that to myself, but just with bad posture. So
dude, you're like a crustacean, so they would squeeze you and something else would.
Yeah, you could Spock touch me because I'm just so poorly put together.
Well, no, that's not true. What do you train at all? Do you do any exercise?
I play tennis.
Ooh, yeah. I do too.
I play tennis all the time.
Are you a good tennis player?
I am good. I play with Kirk Fox.
You do?
I do.
I'd love to play tennis with you. I'm obsessed with tennis.
Tennis is
but guys like you will end up beating a lot of guys.
In tennis?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I mean, not Kirk. He's
something else.
Kirk's game is disgusting.
Well, he's a pro.
It's beautiful.
It's a professional.
Kirk has a short hop inside out backhand that's good everywhere in the world.
Really?
It is. He will catch one on the rise.
Yeah.
Inside out, and it is a bullet.
And open up. Just crazy topspin.
It's beautiful.
Just
it paints the line, and you're just like, that's good everywhere. You just look at it.
He's every bit of 6'4".
Oh yeah, fully. His serve is disgusting.
His serve must be. Those guys who are 6'4", 6'5" with their serve, you're not returning it.
No.
And then they put spin on it.
Yeah.
But he's professional.
He's a professional athlete.
This is very different.
No. I'm not. Okay, we play with each other all the time, and it's a gift that he's willing to play with.
Yeah.
If I play at my absolute best, he gets an okay warm up for an hour.
Wow.
Because.
And where'd you play?
I played in high school. Yeah. To get out of PE. If you played a sport, you didn't have to.
No, it's a completely different. It's like me boxing.
Yeah.
I box.
Yeah.
Now, if I box you, I look good.
Great.
And then I get in with a guy who's just a guy who boxes.
Yeah.
We'll see you later.
Yeah, no, it's a speed thing.
My hands are not up. I'm getting punched.
No, you're getting surprised punched.
No. And they're seeing everything you're doing. Oh, what are you going to do? Jab? It's hilarious.
One time, me and Kirk are hitting, and we don't play for points because why? And so we're playing for the journey of just hitting well.
Yeah.
And I hit a couple really good ones in a row, and then I really rifle one, like a really good one. And Kirk, as he's running to the ball, is yelling, "Don't think you're something you're not," and short hop backhands it up the line. I don't even touch it. I'm laughing so hard. I mean, he can back me up so bad with a topspin. The last time we played, I hit the fence with my racket and my backspin. That's how far away from the court I was.
That's ridiculous.
It's beautiful to watch.
I've played with. Sometimes I pay people to play with me.
Oh yeah,
open level players, professionals.
Yeah.
And I look so good when they hit toward me because I work on it and I can mimic. Well,
tennis is like dance, where if you watch it, you actually get better.
That's right.
I watch on Instagram all the time.
So do I.
Oh, Roger Federer practice videos on YouTube are the best.
That's what I do.
They are meditative.
Well, go ahead and bring up Roger Federer super slow-mo forehand. Take a look at this.
I'm going to New York to go to the U.S. Open. I'm going to see Roger Federer live. And if you shoot me in the head on the way out, I've lived a good life.
I know.
He is a gift. Do you know what a gift it is for us to be alive during Federer, Rafa, Djokovic?
Yeah, the best.
The best. It is a gift.
By far, all of them the best. Watch this. Watch this.
Coach Kaminsky here.
Oh no, he's going to break this down. Go to the other one. Go to the other one.
I don't even. I don't actually like slow motion when it comes to tennis.
Watch. Second one? Or
no.
Look at the lag. Look at the lag.
Yeah.
His 2 feet are rarely on the ground.
Watch this. Look at this.
You're seeing one of the most beautiful things of all time.
Look at that.
Oh, God.
Look at that.
It's a gift. We're seeing something we'll never see again.
Yeah. Well, this is balletic.
His backhand is better than his forehand, and anyone who plays tennis knows that is an anomaly.
This is the music I
That's like
I
saying
make
your
love to.
balls
It's
are more
music I make
useful
love
than
to.
your dick during sex.
Yes. Yes. Your balls are more useful than
Yeah,
your
that you're
dick.
better at putting the dog in the tub than you are fucking with your cock.
That's a great metaphor.
Thank you.
I mean, he's not even doing anything.
No, he's just...
Now, is he making any noise? Is he going...
No, he doesn't make a lot of noise. He makes noise rarely when he wins. The man...
Bring up noisiest tennis players.
Oh, God. Rafa's noisy.
Hey! Oh,
Rafa's noisy. But again, Rafa's forehand is a gift.
No, he's incredible.
The topspin on it is so beautiful.
You want top 5 loudest tennis
Sure, I don't
players?
give a fuck.
Neil Brennan directed a commercial with Rafael Nadal and said he was really nice. Yesterday I was playing tennis with my girl, and a guy was giving lessons next to us, and his noises were so distracting. She was like, I have to stop. And I just hit against the wall for 10 minutes.
That's annoying.
He was like,
You're not winning. Was he really good?
No, he was just a guy giving a lesson to another guy. He was good. He was,
Oh, okay.
But then he started giving a lesson to a kid, and the talking was so much that she was like, I can't do this anymore.
No,
And it was a real shame because we got her a new skirt, and she looked great. So cute.
Really?
She looked so great.
All right, dude.
Women's tennis outfits are so great.
They're adorable.
They're adorable.
Yeah.
They're not overly sexualized, but they're still great
There are
looking.
some hot tennis players out there.
I told her, I said, you look great, and your game is going to get better. And a lot of players, that's all they went on their entire career. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I went and watched some satellite pros, these women play, and they are that's their job. They do that, and it was in the south of France where I summer at times. And
How many times have you
important.
actually summered there?
I'm glad you asked. A number of times. I
that's
go there
vague
because my
enough to
friend
be a
has lots
lie.
of money, and he
great.
invites me down.
Yeah, everyone needs
pay
one of
for
those.
nothing.
Yeah, everyone needs one of those.
You should have very wealthy friends.
You need at least a couple because those guys need people to hang out with,
Yep.
and people like us have the time. We're free during the day.
And they fly you privately.
That I've
my
never
buddy
experienced.
has private jets.
Jeez.
And this is one of my closest friends, and I've known him since I was 18.
Jeez.
Yeah. So when he comes to Chicago to see me do my special,
Right.
he
You call all your sets special?
I do. Well, you know what? That's so funny because the critics do, and I do.
Yeah, right. The critic.
I call it just original
Split
expression.
cider.
Yes.
Chuckle Monkey. That was the one.
Chuckle-
Do you remember? Is that still a site?
I don't know.
That was just where they had the list of open mics when I first started.
Chuckle Monkey.
Oh, can you imagine? And you'd go to chucklemonkey.com
Chucklemonkey's-
and it would just be like, Monday, this restaurant in San Dimas.
It's not there anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, that's where they had the open mics. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, that depresses me. But I was an open micer for many
we
years.
all were. We all
Yeah.
were.
Until I became
Now these
international.
kids, they got 1 billion of them. They can do 2 spots a night at these open mics. We
I
had to
know.
scrounge.
Yeah.
I had to go to the Lucy's Laundromat on Wednesdays.
What do you think of the state of comedy today? Strong?
Strong, over-examined.
Over-examined?
Yes.
What does that mean?
I'm tired of them talking about comedy and talking about us like we're poets and shit.
Yeah, God, I agree with that.
We're not Allen Ginsberg. We're a bunch of assholes.
I fucking agree.
We're a bunch of clowns
I
that learn
fucking agree.
just enough about every subject to make fun of it and then stop reading.
I
You
agree.
You read more than any comic I know.
I do.
Most of us, borderline, full-blown morons.
I've said this. Well, that you're all awesome. You are a classic example of very smart and all the great things. But it's when we start taking, like, I watched a little bit of, I haven't seen the show, but I'm dying up here. God bless Andrew Santino and Eric Griffin, all my friends who are on it. Great guys, and I hope the show goes on forever. But the one thing I didn't watch it because as a comic who's lived this life,
Yeah.
when they were talking about your job is to tell the truth against all odds, and they're creating this sort of like very kind of gritty look. All right, I know, but I know.
You watch it, you go,
let's not
none
make a
of
big-
us say this stuff. Well, and every time
of us.
when we've seen a lot of comics get in trouble, and of course, justifiably so. And whenever I read a lot of the stuff, they're like, this person was anointed as the top guy. I'm like, not by us. No. We don't have those conversations.
No.
The New York Times, NPR, the Huffington Post, you dorks decided someone was the voice of a generation.
Fuck
and we're
you.
like, what are you talking about?
Correct.
They just transcribed their farts. What are you doing?
That's
Read
so
a real
true.
book.
That's so true.
Why are you doing this?
A comic's job is to shed light on the truth. I don't know about that at all. You make me laugh, motherfucker.
2% of the time.
Yeah. 2%
Chris
of the
Rock.
time.
Hold him accountable. He's the guy. Chris Rock tells You know what I say about Chris Rock? Chris Rock is right.
Yeah.
Almost all the time.
Yeah.
Like, but the rest
But
of
not that. It's still not the deepest. Like, you're going to get a deeper read on things, all things race if you read Ta-Nehisi Coates and then Thomas Sowell.
You would never base your knowledge on a single source. You'd be a moron if you did. Yeah. But you're pinning down these people like, well, they're the voice of comedy. What are you even saying?
I'm so glad you're saying
What are you even talking about?
I haven't had anybody articulate
There's
this.
so many voices of comedy.
Yeah.
And that's what's great about it. But it's being overanalyzed. Let us just go to our joke corner like idiots. Because that's what we are.
True, man. Well, when you get on the road, people are paying a lot of money to see you. Make me laugh, motherfucker. And that's what they should demand.
Yeah.
I'll try to say something. My last special, I'm getting too old not to say something. I'm getting too old not to care enough about. I read too much not to have a point of view.
Right, yeah.
And I try to let that sort of, I do it generally where I will comment on the destructive elements of the
Certain
general
things.
conversation.
Sure.
So that's going to seep its way in.
Yeah.
But don't look to me. I'm not your
Do not
guru.
stand there and think that you are. I always think, like, if I had a special, what would I call it? And I think I would call it, This Changes Nothing. Because it's just...
That's very funny.
It's just...
I need to figure out
I
a
feel
name
the
for
same
mine.
way about art stuff I make. Like, we're just making things because the existential crisis of being alive is a lot.
Yeah.
And we're very lucky to be able to do this as work.
Yeah, we're very lucky to be able to even express ourselves.
Absolutely.
You can't do that in China, where I was just...
When I go on the road sometimes, or when you're in different places and you end up in a weird restaurant, like I was working in Atlanta for like a few weeks, and the hotel I was at was like a corporate kind of place where like business people stayed. And I'd go down to the lobby and eat dinner, and I would listen to them talk about, and they'd be having like meetings and shit, like dinner meetings. And I was like, holy fucking God.
Yeah.
If I think... whatever you believe in, that's not my life. Not saying that's a shitty life, but like I couldn't do it.
Well, that's what happened to me. Is I was working for a couple corporations, and including banks, and I had family who worked in the corporate world, and I thought to myself, I remember, you can have a good life and you can make money and and you work with good people, and your life is fine, it's good, but for me, just for me, because I'm a weirdo this way. I thought to myself, at the end of the day, I'm trying to move a product that corporation makes, whether it's a financial instrument, whether it's a number of things. But I'm working to further entrust that brand to a buying group, to a buying populace.
Yeah,
and that requires towing the line. It requires strategy. It requires all these things and a lot of effort and thought to get them to buy whatever it is that you are selling. Even if you believe in the product, I don't care. I couldn't care. And also at the end of my life, it would be a number.
Yeah,
and I didn't have. Now at least I have a diary.
Yeah,
of all the things I think about, and probably as I look back on my old stuff, I cringe a little bit because I was young.
Oh,
and you
dude.
get older, and
oh my God,
yeah.
I look at old art and I'm like, what?
So you do a lot of, you paint and stuff.
Yeah.
Can we see some of your stuff?
Sure.
Bring it up.
Is it on your Instagram?
Go to my Instagram.
I didn't know this about you.
At Kevin G. Christy. I mean, that's what I'm.
Because you're a legit comic, as we know. If you guys don't know, where are you going to be? Are you touring a lot?
I'm about to be in San Jose with Whitney.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. So there's my Instagram.
Oh, you're good.
This is mostly some of my sketchbook stuff.
Wow.
That one's okay.
Wow.
Go back. Go to a better one.
Let's go through them all.
Go to the grid. Let me see the grid. I'll stop you when I like.
I like
This one's
all of
crazy.
Go. Keep going. Keep going.
So what would you call this? Abstract or?
I don't know. See that one on the left, the color
that's
one?
really
I like
good.
that one. That one took a while.
That's really good.
Thanks.
Jesus.
Cool.
But no, this is why I went to school.
Who is that? That's really. Oh,
I don't
you
know, I
did.
just
You went to
made
school
it
for
up.
this?
Yeah.
Wow.
I went to art school.
Oh, that's legit shit right there, dude.
Yeah, this is what I mean. This is like, I probably spend more time doing this stuff.
Do you sell your art?
I don't sell my personal work, but I work commercially. Sometimes.
I would buy that from you and put it up and frame it.
I
love
don't
that.
like the process of selling stuff. I don't enjoy anymore.
Well, because what would you charge for that? You'd have to
exactly.
charge a lot.
I don't know.
It's really nice.
I don't.
How long did that take you?
That took a while.
Like how long?
I would say 20 hours.
And you're
I think 20
considering
hours.
everything before you do it?
That one I had a plan. I actually did a version of that one in black and white, like earlier, and I was just like, there was something about it I thought was interesting, so I just decided to keep doing it.
Who is it?
okay, I will tell you the idea behind this, which no one would ever get in a million years.
Yeah, but I like it.
I was thinking about like that kind of selfish set of parents that make their life way too much about them, even though they have kids. And they're the kind of people that like schedule vacation during the Christmas holiday. So they make you have like another Christmas after Christmas because they were in like the Maldives.
I totally get that from that.
So they're like showing up late and the Christmas trees are already in bags on like the side of the street. And they're showing up to their kids' like ugly condo building. That's what the building is. And they're just like so fired up about themselves. Like they're too into their clothes, even though they're like deep into their 50s.
I love this.
They're just like awful.
She's wearing the kind of shirt that you see moms who are spiffy and do their Pilates wear. Like, and she's got it tucked into her.
Just like too much. You're too extra. You're too about it. Like you're living a life you should have stopped living a long time ago.
Wow. It's really good.
It's too nice.
It's really good. And Dad has got the...
Well, he dropped the present. And he's kind of beleaguered, but he's also part of the problem because he never was like, are we assholes?
It's great. Look at his hair.
Yeah. I mean, I'm obsessed with... I always find it interesting about people that can't acknowledge what they've lost. Like there's hairstyles are a big thing where it's like, you see a guy who... It's like toupees are the most fascinating thing to me because they fool... Quite literally no one.
Quite literally no one.
They fooled nobody. It's like they think someone is going to watch a puppet show and be like, that's a real person. Like, it's impossible. But yet there's still people that are like...
so true.
They're putting... It speaks to just like, oh, you're mentally weak.
Yeah.
So when you see...
Or you just have no idea. You have no idea how you come across to other people.
Yeah, when you see a comb over or just like weird plastic surgery and you're like, oh, you just don't... You don't think you're enough, which I relate to 100%. There's a million things I do.
But you accept it, right? I'm the same way. I'm not going to pump myself full of steroids and go, I'm 51, but I got to get more muscular. And
I mean, I remember someone was talking to me about wristwatches, and they were like, maybe it was Joe Rogan, and he was like, I don't care about wristwatches. Why do you care? I was like, well, if I had a wrist as wide as yours, I probably wouldn't feel the need to put something nice on it. Like, it's all compensation.
Yes.
It's all this, but you try to stay aware of it to where it doesn't become a problem.
That's right.
So, but yeah, no one would ever figure that out just by looking at it, but
it's excellent. But when you say that, I get it all.
Oh, good.
Because you're being really specific with your painting.
I try to be. I mean, that's all there is.
Even the expression on her face, I'm understanding.
That's all there is for me is the process, of doing it.
Who are your favorite artists?
Ooh, fuck. Alive or dead?
I don't care.
My favorites right now, Kerry James Marshall.
Bring him up.
He's fucking this guy.
Really?
Trenton Doyle Hancock is another full-blown, like, weirdo ripper.
Really?
Trenton Doyle Hancock is rad.
Kerry
James Marshall just had a show at Mocha. That was the best thing I've seen in a decade. It was so mind-blowing.
See, I wish I knew art.
This dude is on some other level shit. He's so rad. They're huge.
Damn.
Ugh, they're so good. The one of the hair salon, that one with the pink floor on the top, that one. That one in person is such a banger. You're just like, oh, all right, dude. You burnt it down. You burnt it down. You burnt painting down.
Just a whole different kind of guy, right?
Pull up Trenton Doyle Hancock.
Where'd he grow up?
I think Kerry James Marshall's from Chicago.
Black. Chicago, probably poor.
He had this great quote where he was like, I love nice art galleries and museums. So
he grew up in South Los Angeles.
Oh, really?
Yeah, South Central Los Angeles.
Why did I think he was a Chicago
guy?
guy?
And now lives in Chicago.
Oh, that's why. But he had this great quote. He goes, I love museums and nice galleries, so I just thought I should start making the kind of paintings that could get into museums and nice galleries. That's how simple it was.
Damn.
And then he just like became a juggernaut. He's an artistic juggernaut.
Brilliant.
Trenton Hancock is so rad. Just like full blown weirdo ripping. Like, look at that, man. That guy is not, those things are huge. That's not like, oh, this will take a week. He doesn't even know.
What do those guys get a painting?
A lot. Trenton Doyle Hancock's. Kerry James Marshall is unbuyable at this point. Like, even if you had the money, like, good luck.
He's that wealthy.
He's going into art history. Yeah. So buying him is like buying Apple stock 50 years ago.
Damn.
Where it's just like, no, if he's $250,000 for anything,
I love
and
it.
if you get it, you know that in 20 years, it'll be worth $1 million.
I love that shit.
But Doyle Hancock is even in the high thousands. I saw he was at an art fair and there was like a drawing. I was like, maybe I could. I was like, how much drawing? They were like $7,000. I was like, and how? I did a podcast with Sharon Stone, and I did it in her dining room. Oof.
And I go, who made those huge paintings on either side of me? And she goes, Basquiat.
Damn.
She would take, I think, 10 or 20% of her income back in the 80s and buy art.
That's what.
And she has an incredible art
Uma
collection.
Thurman, maybe when she got her first big modeling contract, bought a Picasso, took all the money and just bought a Picasso drawing.
Wow.
And like, there was just I saw something on Instagram where they're trying to get you to invest in art through some service, and they were showing the growth. And it was like the S&P 500, like 243% over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Masterworks, 4,000%.
Yeah. Some of that, though, is also because...
it's inflated for sure.
Yeah, well, because the brokers themselves buy it up.
Yeah,
so they were doing that.
They
with
corner
Warhol.
the market.
They were doing that with Warhol. They were. It was bullshit.
Well, brokers and millionaires need the art they already own to be worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
So that's why they get on boards of museums so they can be like, we need a Warhol show. It's like, well, that's because you own 7 Warhols. Wow. And you need them to be worth a shit ton of money.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, where do you stand on modern art? The bullshit stuff.
Some of it I love, some of it I hate.
Yeah.
It's like anything.
But how do they get away with,
they have
charging that much money?
Everyone's involved in the lie.
Everyone's involved.
From
in
the
lie.
critics to the buyers to the sellers to the gallerists to the museums.
They're all getting money?
They're all getting money. Wow. So, and they all need to justify its existence. Otherwise, why'd you pay $250,000 for a critical theory degree from Sarah Lawrence? Like, you're fucked. Or like, you need that to exist. It's like religion. You need it to exist as a thing. Otherwise, you're like, well, what are we fucking doing here? Like, I remember...
They were selling a neon sign that said jungle 3 times in Chelsea for $450,000.
Yeah.
And they were selling a DVD of an abstract film that was just images for $150,000.
I don't mind it because you're just taking advantage of hedge funders. I don't give a fuck. Fuck those people.
Yeah.
When you bought the Jeff Koons basketball containers, he made these things. It's a water container. Koons.
TZ or?
No, Koons. So the basketball containers, it's water with the basketball in it. And it comes with a certificate that says you can change the water in the basketballs because the water molds and the basketballs deplete. So what did you buy?
Oh.
You bought, and by the way, if you think he built an inch of that, you are mistaken. He doesn't touch it. Same with like all the big artists. They don't make shit. They come up with the idea, they email it to someone, and someone executes it.
Really?
And
what does that cost?
Millions.
Millions?
Millions. It's probably been re-auctioned 10 times. Millions and millions. By the way, if you had $4 million and wanted to buy it, they'd be like, I'm sorry. There's a list. There's a waiting list.
Fucking Jeff Koons.
Yeah.
What a phony. I love him.
He's the best. But he made this Shih Tzu dog sculpture that's like 50 feet tall out of flowers, and it's jaw-dropping. I don't care that he didn't make it. He made it happen by virtue of his weird-ass fame, and it exists.
But fuck Jeff Koons, but let me see it.
It's so rad.
It's one of these things, right? But huge?
No. It's made of flowers.
Flowers.
Those are amazing. The big ones are amazing. There's one at Lockmar right now. I don't care because when you stand in front of an enveloping piece of art, that shit's real.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You can't stand in front of that and be like, oh, this is bullshit. If you stood in front of that, you'd be like, dude.
Flowers.
This is bananas.
All flowers.
Yeah. And I think it was this piece, someone was like, you're clearly discussing like a post 9/11 world and he was like, no, I just thought it'd be rad looking like a giant flower dog.
Yeah, you know what? A giant flower dog works.
But it's his artistic instinct where he doesn't have to question. He just like, it pops into his head and he's like that. That weird painting I made just popped into my head and I couldn't get it out. So I was like,
that weird painting is
I guess I better make it.
And it takes actual work.
That took several engineers.
Yes, that is considered.
Yeah.
Deeply.
So I buy into it, and when I buy into like, not all of it, but the stuff of it I don't find annoying. I find lots of performance art annoying, but some of it's super powerful. Yeah. It just depends. It's like any people.
Well, but when you say it depends, I contend that some of it is art and some of it is not. That's where I draw the line. So,
I don't say that any of it's not art. Some of it's just really bad art.
No, and that's the difference. Is I say that some of it, and people, when Jeff Koons does that thing with basketballs, he's taking advantage of his name. He's being a businessman, and he's not creating art. He's fucking taking advantage of morons, which he should. rich morons or people
Partly,
who,
sure.
or people who are just investing because they know other people are morons, so it'll be worth something later. I don't know what it is, but that's not art. There are a lot of expressions.
To you, art is like things that require an innate talent, like drawing and sculpture.
I think like anything else, art should be considered. There is criteria for good art. And a criteria really for art in general, which requires a degree of honesty, original self-expression, technique, all the things that go into the meaningful difference between anything. Otherwise, I could take every time I take a shit, and I flush it down the toilet, but I would take a picture of it. I go, I just made art today.
But there is something... And
by the way, I put myself, this is a Marxist notion, probably. I would put myself on the same level as your boy... Trenton
Doyle Hancock.
And I'd go, I know he does his thing, but I do my thing. And to me, this is art. And I have a small group of people, and I would find them. They'd probably be weird German dudes.
I would only say there is an inherent value in something that is only beautiful because it creates a reflexive experience that you kind of can't even put your finger on.
Correct.
And the Jeff Koons basketballs, well, I don't love them. On their way to becoming very expensive, they passed through and were criticized by hundreds and hundreds of people who are very, very smart.
Yeah.
And it somehow got through that system.
Because they're idiots. Because they're in on the lie.
To a certain degree, sure.
Yeah, they're not using their smarts.
Some of them.
They're lying too.
But I think
Everybody
he's
lies.
fun. The thing I like about him is he's fun. And he goes, the art doesn't matter, it's the gesture.
Yeah, again, hey Jeff. Enough.
The balloon dogs, though, when you stand in front of them, they're big and shiny, and you're like, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That looks heavy.
Him.
Yeah, he takes a balloon of Tweety Bird, then has someone make it out of cast iron, then they paint it all shiny, and you stand in front of it, and you're like, that's shiny. And it's good. And then some dope pays $4 million for it.
Well, he's a businessman.
And he wakes up. Oh no, he worked in like advertising before he became a famous artist.
There you go.
He knew exactly what he was doing.
There you go.
Yeah.
So he's a very smart marketing guy, and I appreciate him.
But so was Warhol. Yeah. I mean, some of my favorite arguments at the Comedy Store was me and Dove Davidoff screaming at each other about Warhol. Dove hates Warhol in a way that's so funny.
I've been with Dove. I go to modern art shit with Dove. And Dove walks around going,
that dude.
This is infuriating. Well, he's one of my favorites of all time.
He's great, but like I would do this thing where I would try to find very traditional Warhol drawings, and I'd text him like, what do you think of this drawing? It's great, I love it. And I'd just all caps, it's Warhol, you mook. And he'd be like, you motherfucker! He's the best.
He's the best. I fucking miss Dove. He left me. Son of a bitch.
I miss that dude.
Yeah, Warhol was a real personality. I think his personality kind of...
But he figured I don't think you can discredit someone who figured a thing out that then caught on to a huge, huge level. So something he tapped into, the notion of fame and examining it, was transcended to a lot of people.
You could say the same thing about porn, though.
Sure.
Which has its own thing. I mean, I think that Warhol's important in that maybe he gave other people license to be weird but good. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like other people who thought of the world very differently were like, wait, if he's doing that, I think what's inside my brain would actually work.
There are industries and people I kind of consider lighthouses.
Yeah.
And are very important to perpetuating the existence of weirdos.
Yes.
And people,
you need weirdos.
People of alternative lifestyles that maybe don't know it's okay and live in a place where they're not exposed to it. They see things like the fashion industry or Broadway or drag, and they're like, wait. Those people are like me.
Dude, that's why I always argue for... That's why back in the day, I never made fun of gay people or trans people, even when I was doing stand-up. Because instinctually, one, I didn't want to make anybody feel bad. One, I just knew that it was how you were, and you were alone in the world, and you were definitely teased, and I just never liked being a bully.
Why would you choose that difficulty?
Yeah. But I also just didn't like being the popular kid who happened to be straight and white. I knew that a long time ago in the fucking 80s. I was like, or 90s. I was like, I don't want to be the one who takes they're all laughing, and then there's that 3% or that one dude over there or that one gal over there who's gay or dresses in women's clothing, whatever the fuck. I got arrested in New York, and I got arrested sitting next to a drag queen. this guy who is, I don't know if that's fucking, but he was a dude. And I started talking to him. He goes, yeah, I'm just a dude, but I like chicks, but I just like to dress up like a broad sometimes. He was a real thick New Yorker.
Then he's a cross-dresser, not a drag
whatever.
queen.
Yeah, cross-dresser. Yeah. But the point is that as I get older, I really think that a culture stays strong when it provides safety for your weirdos.
I've recently, in the last couple months, maybe 3 months, become obsessed with drag, and it saves lives.
I believe it.
You're talking about kids that were going to kill themselves.
Yes.
I've watched now every episode of RuPaul's Drag Race. I have a favorite drag queen. I actually left my house, paid to see this person's show. It was jaw-dropping. One of the best things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, you ever, as a comic, when you go to see something like on Broadway and you're like, oh, we're assholes. We're doing nothing up there. Like, these people are singing, dancing, and they're hilarious.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, it was like that, where I was like, holy shit, you are one of the chosen people.
It's an art form.
And it is, because I watched the show, I'm now like rewatching seasons at this point. It's like The Wire to me.
Yeah.
And you see what they go through to get there.
Yeah.
The stories, you have to be heartless not to connect with these people.
Of course.
Pull up Jinkx Monsoon.
Of course.
My favorite.
And RuPaul was doing this shit back in the day.
RuPaul has pushed the needle
no
of the world in the right direction. Imagine the things RuPaul has had to hear about himself over the years.
I'll be honest. He did an episode of Mad TV 23 years ago.
Yep.
And I remember, I didn't know.
This is my favorite queen, Jinkx Monsoon.
Wow.
Can sing you into a corner and beat you to death.
Really?
And one of the funny, like anyone we know, funny for real.
Wow.
Can write real jokes, like funny for real, dude.
I believe it.
And the timing of the show, like they have this like musical partner that Jinkx works with, and they have all these originals. It was jaw dropping, dude.
And in a lot of cultures, he or she or whatever would get killed, not beat up, but killed.
Jinkx considers
put in jail, humiliated, and considered a deviant.
Yeah,
like they would put something on him like you are a pedophile, or they do this in Russia. You're gay, that means you fuck kids.
Yeah.
And they kill you.
Jinkx identifies as gender non-binary.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it, man. This show, Guy Branum was there too. And I was like, that's one of the best things I've ever seen in my whole life. And I've seen a lot of shit, and I'm not an idiot. Like, I know what good performance is. And I was like, this is so good. It made me mad that it wasn't like bigger. I was like, I want thousands of people to see. All I did was call people I knew with more power than me, like Whitney and stuff. I was like, you have to go see this.
Yeah.
You have to tell people about this. It was so good.
Yeah.
It was it was transcendent. When art is that good, it's transcendent. And you're like, this is good to everyone.
That's a great word for it. Well, again, it makes your culture colorful. It gives license to other creatives who think differently, who feel better when they dress differently, when they love differently. And that is actually how you make for a strong culture. It's actually, if you want a strong culture, then that's what you should do.
It's the same notion as spreading out the gene pool.
I agree.
You have stronger groups of people when you spread it out. And it's the same feeling you had the first time you came to a comedy club. When I arrived at the Comedy Store or art school, I was like, oh shit.
I felt like I was home.
Yeah, you're like, oh, you people are like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
I'm not weird here?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
It's that thing. And these people are so important to young people who see them.
It's the way like people like Josephine Baker, like black performers, jazz musicians used to feel when they'd go to Paris.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were black in the United States, second-class citizens. They go to Paris and they were looked at as artists. So they were like, holy shit.
I went to Scandinavia with Whitney on tour, and every old theater, which they're shockingly beautiful, they were like, Josephine Baker, like they have the signs like those jazz people are like, oh, Chet Baker played here. And like they were treating those people with the respect they deserve way before us. Yeah. We were all like, you sit there. And they were like, I'm a fucking genius that you will never see the likes of ever again.
Yeah.
I'm Charlie Parker. And like, right. God damn it. What's wrong with
I always think about the great Louis Armstrong, who there was a Jewish family in New Orleans. And New Orleans, if you were black, you were either a pimp, you were a criminal, or you were a preacher. I mean,
Yeah.
there was no other, things didn't work out for you.
Yeah.
You were basically a sharecropper. I mean, and Louis Armstrong came from I think it was called the Fifth Ward. They called it the Battle Zone. They called it something like that. And he would get on this Jewish family in New Orleans would hand out coal to the families, and he would ride that coal wagon. And he, as a 6-year-old, even younger, would blow the bugle to let the families know that the coal was here. So he would sit on the front and go like that. I always think about the first time, I think it was Charlie Black, who was a white Southerner, 16 years old, and always raised to believe that black people were inferior.
Yeah.
And he listened to this man play the horn, and he said, everything changed for him in that moment. He said, hold on, this doesn't make sense. I was told that that black people couldn't do this, but this guy, and it's like Wynton Marsalis said, the only way I can describe his playing was it sounded like God must look, something like that. Like it sounded like light, the kind of light that comes from God. And this same thing, this sort of conversion happened to Charlie Black, and he was a Southern boy at 16, and he went, oh, everything I've been told is a lie.
Yeah.
So that's what a black person can do. Oh, that comes out of a black mind, a black body. Oh, okay. And he became one of the lead lawyers on Brown versus Board of Education.
When I'm like 17 years old, I used
by
to
the way-
go to private drawing lessons with this guy. I had taken classes at a place called Kids Art, and then the guy, I really liked this one guy, Aaron Smith, who's a fucking great painter, still is, teaches at the college I went to. And he left because he didn't need a job anymore. And so I would go to his apartment in Silver Lake and get like drawing and painting lessons. This guy was my fucking hero. I dressed like him. He had like cool tattoos, wore like brown Dickies and black t-shirts and like cool steel rings. Like I literally just copied this dude head to toe.
Yeah.
I was like, this
I've
guy's
always wanted to be cool.
This guy's my actual hero, right? And then I noticed he has 2 girl roommates, and I've watched enough Three's Company to know what's what. And I'm like, which one of these is your girlfriend? And he goes, neither. And I go, are you gay? And he goes, do you really want to know? And I go, yeah. He goes, yeah. And I was like, okay. And my friend Travis went with me. Travis had known him since he was like 13, and Travis's head almost fell off his body.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and at the same time, I'd been going to a lot of like youth group, church, Jesus stuff. Now at 17, you stop being able to go to the youth group like the high school group. You have to go to the adult church. So I started going to the adult one. I didn't realize I had been inadvertently going to basically the Footloose church. And so I get to the adult sermons, and they're basically like, gay people are the worst. They're going to burn in hell. I'm like, no, they don't. They teach you to paint and stuff, and they're super cool, and they have bitchin' tattoos. I was like, oh, light bulb.
Yeah.
This is silly.
So where'd you grow up?
La Crescenta, California.
Oh, and you grew up very religious?
No. I went through a religious phase in high school, like from like 14 to 17. When I look back on it, I think I was so terrified of like sex and like the people getting drunk at parties that I was like, I need a solid excuse to get out of this.
Yeah.
And Jesus worked.
You think very deeply, and by the way, you speak like somebody who reads everything.
I mean, I do realize.
You do. Okay, because I
know, I was joking.
You fucker. All
I
right.
try. I try. I
You
don't
said
read
if it's a book,
I don't read as much as I
No, but
should.
you read.
But I have to.
I was like listening to you talk. I go, if this guy doesn't read books, I'm gonna. This is not making sense.
No, I do.
Yeah.
But like
Do
talking.
you read fiction?
No.
Nonfiction.
Nonfiction.
Yeah.
Nonfiction. Like, why do I want to hear about something someone made up?
Nonfiction.
Unless it's like space shit or wizards and stuff.
No,
That's cool.
nonfiction is actually more important than anything else. And I'm a guy who reads nonfiction. I mean, fiction is more important than anything else.
Okay.
So I read nonfiction.
Right.
But now but I also have read my share of fiction, of course.
Okay.
And the reason fiction is more important than anything else is because, number one, it allows you to really understand and get into what it's like to be another person. Okay. So Ta-Nehisi Coates, who I read everything by him recently.
Right.
And Ta-Nehisi Coates is criticized by many on the right and many even on the left as being, quote unquote, a race baiter. He's reduced as we do in today's dialogue.
Yeah.
But he wrote a book called The Beautiful Struggle, which is about a black kid growing up in West Baltimore. I don't give a shit where you stand on the political spectrum. Read it from the perspective of a human being of what it's like actually to be black in that area of the world.
I'm watching The Wire right now. Baltimore's
you will
no
be
joke.
you will be moved on a human level. It doesn't matter if you're white or black or Chinese. It doesn't matter if you're Chinese from Beijing and you read Ta-Nehisi Coates' The Beautiful Struggle. Put all your political shit to the side. You will get a sense of what it is. You'll go, oh fuck! If I was a human being and I grew up in that skin, in that part, I would have to contend with the same shit, and I'd have a very different. You get it. It builds a compassion in you that's important and a deeper understanding. So when I look at the man now, or when I look at a black kid now in South Central Los Angeles, I feel at least like I have a little bit of a deeper understanding. When you read his other book, which won a National Book Award, which was very controversial, called Between the World and Me, which is a letter to his son, who's 15, and his son, after Michael Brown's killer, didn't get convicted, the police officer. He looked, all he said at the TV, his 15-year-old said, "I gotta go." And Ta-Nehisi heard his son crying in his bedroom. Ta-Nehisi writes this thing about, basically this letter of what it is, what it's going to be like for me to grow up black, what it's like for you to grow up black, and how afraid I am and how powerless I feel to keep you safe. Now, there's an indictment of white America. There's talk of white supremacy. Yes. I understand. It's going to make you feel uncomfortable. It made me feel uncomfortable. I disagree with a lot of it, all that stuff. Not important. What's important is that it made me feel deeply.
Yeah.
What was the matter is that it made me think.
Also, if something hurts your feelings, there's a reason.
Yeah, and I sent it to Rogan. And I said, read this. And Rogan had heard the criticism and sent me some articles.
Yeah.
And we had a really good discussion about it. Because I said, it's to be read as a psalm, as a song, as a poem, as a piece of art. You don't have to judge it politically or the damage it's going to do to the conversation. No. It has its own truth.
Yeah. I mean, in the time I've been alive, what I notice is firsthand experience tends to be the silver bullet of prejudice. Every older white lady I know is so excited about their first black friend, they make it work.
Yeah.
It's just a lack of firsthand experience. Where I grew up in La Crescenta, no black people. So I was talking about this, my friend, the actor Steve Howie. My best friend since junior high.
I love Steve Howie.
We met in 7th grade.
God, I love Steve Howie.
He's the best dude.
What's he up to?
He is working on a movie right now. By the way,
I love that guy.
Pull up his body. It's asinine.
Steve's 240.
Steve's jacked
big
right
as
now.
strong. That's another guy you don't want to fight. He'll beat the shit out of you.
Steve's a bear.
Yeah, he's a goddamn bear.
But I tell you,
legit giant.
Can move like a dancer.
Oh, he's a fucking athlete. Played. I think he played D1 basketball, didn't he?
No, not D1, like junior college.
By the way, look at him. He'll kill you.
No, yeah, you don't want to fuck with that.
Steve's a legit tough guy.
Big fists.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So that's my friend Justin right next to him. That's the one who that's the one I told you about who was into jiu-jitsu in 92.
Rough guy.
I've known both those guys since I'm 13.
Love Steve Howard.
Big guys love a nerdy mascot. They love a sidekick. Yeah. I've been Robin to those two Batmans.
Steve is a fucking stud, and Steve has got the intensity of a little guy.
Also, Steve is the weirdest person I've ever known, and I've known Bobby Lee for 15 years.
Dude, he's hilarious.
Oh, Steve's hilarious.
Steve is a fucking... I love the guy.
Well, you know what he is? Steve's a full-on nerd in that body and,
You're right.
and height.
So because
he hung out with me.
He's clearly been lifting and taking his fitness to another level.
Oh, no, he kicked it into high gear at some point. But his whole life, he's always been able to get big quick. I don't know what it is. He's just one of those dudes.
Yeah, it's just crazy genetics.
Yeah.
Legit giant.
Yeah.
Every bit of 6'4".
But he could, absolutely. But he could have been cool, but he hung out with me, our Vietnamese friend Tron, our Armenian friend Pedro, and we were in a hip-hop dancing crew together. That's not even remotely a joke. And we weren't. It's so sincere. It's sad.
Never stopped working, by the way.
No,
right?
Always works. Non-stop working. Three beautiful
kids. You need a giant with
supplements aren't
sense
cheap.
of humor. God, I love that guy. I tried to get him to start doing stand-up.
He's always toyed with the notion. I think he's going to try it maybe once or twice.
He's too successful to do stand-up.
He's too I mean, I don't know. But I remember it really, the fact that I did it and he didn't, there was part of him that was like, wait, the pussy's doing this?
He's got a giant head.
Yeah. Oh, his head's humongous.
Huge.
His head's
Steve will
humongous.
beat your ass in an Argyle sweater.
This guy on a sweater vest and steal your car.
I'm with him at the Improv, and the guy's looking at his wife. Tell me his wife's name again.
Sarah Shahi.
Sarah Shahi. Yeah. Gorgeous. And
I remember
guy says something to her, and Steve goes, "Hey, are you stupid?" The guy kept looking at his girl. The guy gets up, guy's big. Steve gets up right in the improv. He's going to fight right there, and I broke it up because I told the guy that Steve was a cop and that they were all going to get.
When this is like a decade ago. I'm dating this woman who's very, very attractive at the time, and David Taylor goes, Steve and his wife make people very cynical about their chances, whereas you and that girl give people hope.
Well, he's been with Sarah for a long time.
They got 3 great kids.
Yeah.
I forget why we were talking about this.
Look at that.
Oh, but I was talking to Steve about this. Our exposure to African American culture only came through TV. So it's this horrifying bastardized version. It's either hip hop, cop shows, the news. Yeah. That is a very small, limited scope.
Yeah.
So until you go out in the world and meet actual people from different places,
or you read.
You read a
concept. Deep, poetic reflection from a guy who's a gifted writer.
Yeah. If you don't read smart people who are mad at you, you're dumb.
Yeah.
Because that's where you find out what you did wrong, man. You have to be open to learning. You can't. And I understand why people get mad about that stuff. They're like, I barely am paying rent here. Can you stop bugging me about what I call things? Yeah. They're like, I just lost my pension. Like, I don't care how I get confused.
Well, that's very true, right? The difference between what a black audience laughs at and an average white audience laughs at is different, because I feel like when you get too esoteric, the shit that works in Canada with an all white crowd doesn't work with a black crowd in Los Angeles, because they tend to be dealing with things that are more tangibly.
They also don't have as much time to be offended.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, this is small shit. Are you insane?
Small shit.
Are you insane?
Yeah, man.
Like, it's just, but you don't.
I like Latin audiences. I feel like they like
do
Mexican
not like
audiences
me.
are really.
I featured for Felipe, and they were so. I get on stage.
Mexican audience.
I'm on stage for 10 seconds. Dude in the front goes, "This dude's not funny." I had barely started talking, and I was like, "I'm going to definitely get funny," but he had decided. Yeah, and I don't know what it is.
Because you look super white nerd.
Yeah,
and they're not because you got your glasses on and they're not going to right away. I think it's so culturally different. Maybe. I fucking love Mexican audiences. Maybe because
they're just more fun than me, and I'm not fun.
You're hilarious. I mean,
no, but that's not necessarily
you get
fun.
That. You get any audience.
Yeah,
ultimately.
yeah. I'm not mad that they don't like me. They get a vote, man. They can hate my guts.
We got to get him on the podcast.
Felipe's so goddamn funny. So I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But if you have to open up your whole scope, I hadn't watched a minute of RuPaul's Drag Race, and my girl was like, I really like this show. And it was oh, fine, I'll watch an episode of Real Housewives. God damn it. And I watched one. She's like, I'm going to show you this episode. And it's every season they do a version of Snatch Game. Remember the old game show? And she's like, I think you should see Jinkx on Snatch Game. I was like, what are you even talking about? I'm doing this because we're in love. And I watch it, and I'm like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And why are they so good? And Jinkx is also narcoleptic, which is hilarious.
Jesus.
Like, the whole thing in the old season, this is 5 years ago when the season aired.
It's been going on for 5 years, dude?
Oh, the show's been on 10 years. Jinkx whispers to himself before his critiques, water off a duck's back, water off a duck's back. And I was like, I've met my sweetie. That's my girl forever.
Holy shit.
And then I just kept watching. And it's one of those things where they're so skilled, you can't not be impressed.
Yeah.
Like, they give them like a day, they're like, make an outfit in the theme of this. And then they do it, and you're like, I can't sew a fucking stitch.
And they make it themselves.
A lot of them do. Some sew, some don't. I just started watching Drag Race Thailand. It has subtitles, which are tough. But all of them they can make anything.
And the idea is what at the end of the day?
They just try to execute these challenges, and the ones that do the best move up. And if you win the show, you become a massive drag star, and you can make a fucking killing.
Oh, I bet.
I mean, these people are selling out.
What is the what are the challenges?
The challenges are, well, Snatch Game, you have to pick a celebrity and impersonate them, and then they judge you on how you do.
Wow.
So, like, Jinkx did Little Edie from Grey Gardens, which, by the way, what the hell kind of choice is that?
I don't know what that is.
You've never seen Grey Gardens?
No.
It's Jackie Onassis's, I believe, cousins who went bankrupt and live in this dilapidated mansion. I've watched it, but it was years ago. It's great, and they're so weird. One of them goes bald from being straight. She played her, Little Edie, and everyone's like, are people going to know who that is? RuPaul's like, are you worried that people... She's so good at it, she wins. She wins the challenge.
Damn.
Because she nails it so hard.
Damn.
It's so... The show is so fascinating to me because they're so interesting and skilled and talented
Now I feel
and
like
hilarious.
I need to watch it.
You have to. It's required reading as far as I'm concerned. You're not. And it's a cliff notes.
It's the same thing we were talking about. It's the same value you get from reading fiction.
Yeah.
You will become more compassionate, less judgmental, and ultimately smarter. Ultimately, you will deepen your understanding, which I think is fucking important. As a 51-year-old man, for anybody who's young and listening,
but in the body
deepening
you still
your understanding
have is incredible.
I have a great body, dude.
One of the funniest things you ever did to me, you walked up to me in the Comedy Store and you shook my hand and you just whispered, "You may have the most beautiful body I've ever seen."
Well, my skin took a beating in fucking Beijing.
Oh yeah, you want to, what? I've never, and I don't have a huge desire to go to China. Beijing is an industrial city.
Yeah. Tianjin, where I shot, which is 2.5 hours outside of Beijing. So I didn't even go to Beijing.
Yeah.
Well, I got to Beijing. I thought I'll see the Great Wall. I'll see the inner city.
They took you to the Reno of China.
Yeah, no, you're going to drive 2.5 hours. Yeah, you're going to go to this. And China has been built up to the level. The skyline is not. I don't know how to say it.
Not as God intended it.
It's China has had a very traumatic history.
For sure.
China has suffered from colonial sort of domination. China decided that they were going to modernize, and that was never going to happen to them. They suffered terribly at the hands of the Japanese. They were forced into buying opium from the British in the Opium Wars. They had to sign a 100-year lease and give the island of Hong Kong to the British, and that extended to 1997.
Yeah.
They suffered terrible famines under Mao Zedong. They suffered terrible purges and, massive restructuring of their societies where whole segments of the population were forced to move into the countryside. The individual in China, is not of importance the way it is in the United States.
The Westernized
It's very
world in
hard to
general.
understand, but at the end of the day, if you have a neighborhood and they want to build a bullet train through that neighborhood, you are not getting in the way of that.
No.
You're going to move.
No.
And your neighborhood will be raised and you will be put in that high rise over there.
Yeah.
So the Chinese have been through a lot.
Yeah.
So the idea of personal sovereignty, or hey, don't build that over there because you're making the air bad.
Yeah, you're polluting too much. Or
No.
Fuck you, man.
Yeah, the Chinese said productivity. By the way, I am in no place to comment on Chinese history, culture. I've done my reading of it. Sure. I have my respect for it, but or even Chinese mindset. So I'm saying this as somebody who went there. I went there in 1985. I'm there now. I spent very little time there. I saw nothing. But it's fucking it would be a tough place to live.
Yeah.
It is polluted
because
of the amount of emphasis on production.
They're using the most cement of anyone in the world.
It's too much.
Eroding the oceans because you need sand to make it.
It's too fucking much.
Yeah.
And they've also decided, though, in 1 year they went from coal to gas. Like everybody. China moves fast. China goes, hey, everybody, we're not using coal anymore. Everybody's using gas.
Yeah.
And now they're moving to nuclear. So they will clean the air up. The Chinese will clean the air up faster than anybody else.
There is a thing we do in the westernized world where we're like, hey, you're trying to get not poor too fast. And they're like, oh, really?
Yeah.
We have the internet. We see how you guys live. Fuck you, man.
Yeah, man.
You don't think I want a Starbucks on every corner?
Yes.
You don't think I want a cake pop?
Yeah.
Like, why do you get to decide?
Also, don't tell me how to live my life. The Chinese had to deal with that for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So there's a great deal. So whenever you talk about these trade wars, those trade wars have been going on forever. And those trade wars were never in the favor of the Chinese. So, the Chinese were forced into treaties that made no sense for them whatsoever.
Yeah.
The Chinese didn't have a right to self-determination. So, once they got their independence and they become a superpower, you're not telling them what the fuck to do.
There's a real problem with artistic copyright infringement because they don't have the notion that it matters. They're like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Well, that's whole nother issue.
I'm a real policeman for the stealing of people's art and especially old skate graphics being stolen and stuff. I get really bummed about that shit and I try to alert people.
Yeah.
And I alerted this guy. I was like, they're definitely ripping this off. He goes, yeah, I can't do anything about the China thing.
But, they pay a price for that too because conformity conformity. You are told there's a pamphlet when you shoot a film there. Do not say anything bad about the government. You are not here to be political.
No.
And you will be asked to leave or incarcerated.
Yeah.
So you do not get up with a placard in China when you go, and I went to the Forbidden City, the line's way too long. But when you go there, at Tiananmen Square, way too crowded. But
when you lie about going to, you're like, no, we didn't do that shit.
It was sold out. I was like, oh, good, I'm out of here. But when you do not as a Chinese person get up with a placard and say equal rights or whatever it might be, you will disappear. You will be taken off the street by the authorities.
Yeah.
And who knows? I'm sure you'll be.
Well,
I'm sure you'll have a right to a trial.
Person standing in front of the take in Tiananmen Square. You know who they can't find? That dude.
That's true.
They do not know where that person is.
They don't know where he is.
They haven't known for quite a while.
That's right. And that's the way it is. Yeah. Well, when you have that kind of conformity, it's very difficult to become. And there's a reason that you're not going to be that creative. Mm-hmm. You're going to be good at mimicry, but there's a liability to any society that puts conformity and order above, disruption, which is art, which is creative.
There's a certain amount of importance to destruction. I grew up.
That's called innovation.
Punk, and there's something important about like, no, fuck that. Let's burn it down. And you're like, it's like for the forest.
Yeah.
It helps grow.
And the Chinese do that, but it's a top-down kind of burn down.
They want to really organize.
It's being planned on a board. When you see these like sky rises and you see these, there are 10 buildings, the exact same building that people have to live vertically in.
Yeah, they're crazy looking.
And because they got to do something with all the people. But there is something soul-numbing about that. Like there's something about
for sure
that's been planned on a board by bureaucrats who don't know you, know nothing about the area.
Yeah, I mean, when you and from a financial standpoint, like our next stock market crash is already on the calendar. Like they have that. They're like, no, we'll wait till 2022. Like, I mean, they bought all our debt decades ago.
Yeah.
They giggle at this tariff bullshit.
Yeah. There it is. Look at that.
Yeah. No.
You see that all.
I think his name was.
Look at that. That
photographer. A photographer went and took these amazing pictures of that. I want to say it's, I don't remember, Gursky maybe. And they're the same ones in like Brazil too, where you're like, there's something wrong with that.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel the same way about any big. I mean, I think New York City is
New York went through that in the 50s.
It's humanism gone wrong. It's an ant farm.
Well, in New York in the 50s and 60s, the idea under Robert Moses was flow is more important than. So they tore down these beautiful old inspired structures, and they built these huge monoliths. They did that in the South Bronx. The South Bronx was neighborhoods, and they put all these poor black people, etc., into these giant high rises.
Yeah, and then they lowered the bridges so the buses couldn't get in.
You feel like a fucking
do you have when you go into like the forest, you get that feeling where you're like, oh wait, this makes a lot of sense.
An old growth forest.
You're in the
church,
up
bro.
northern. Yeah, you're I had to shoot a commercial in like Northern California near Santa Rosa, and there was a tree near where we were shooting that was 1,000 years old. And I'm walking by, I look, it's humongous. Yeah. It's just gigantic, right? And there's like, don't touch the tree. And I was like, here's the thing. I'm going to go touch this tree.
And it feels different, doesn't it?
I went up, I put my arms around the tree, and I went, you've been here a long time.
Long time, bro.
You've seen a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You're going to be here a long time after I'm gone.
Way before the U.S.
And I was just like, I'm glad to meet you, buddy.
Did you ever hear the expression, who said it? To a great tree like that, to the great sequoias, everyone is a barbarian. Mm-hmm. Everyone is a newcomer and a barbarian.
They're like,
they've
these
been
assholes
here
again.
Forever.
Or you're writing it down on what? Paper? You asshole.
Dude, that's how you feel when you go to Florence or those cities that were planned by a king and a pope back then around human beings.
I went to Italy
movement.
like a year ago almost. And like when you see that, I mean,
I'm reading that book right now, Travel.
I get the same feeling standing in front of certain works of art that I do in the forest. Oh, yeah. I've always thought big abstraction is artists trying to compete with the feeling you get in nature. Mm-hmm. You stand in front of a big, expansive color. You're just trying to create that same thing, that vibration you get when you're in the forest. You're like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm in Earth right now, as opposed to a box.
Yeah.
And but when I was in Italy, when you see certain works of art, you're just like, are you? Yeah,
look at that.
You gotta go do that, man. You gotta go to the forest and touch a tree like that.
Do it now.
If you're not impressed by that, you're wrong.
I know.
You're wrong.
You're right.
If you see, there's certain things that are transcendent, like the Pietà, the David, certain these cathedrals where you're like, what the fuck were you guys on back then? You guys were on some other level
the Sistine Chapel. Can I get zoom in on that woman who's naked and
here's the thing about
that tree?
I saw the Sistine Chapel and I obviously loved it, but in Florence, Michelangelo's painting of Madonna and Child, that shit was vibrating, and I could tell. I was like, oh, I can tell right now why he's better than everybody else.
Yeah.
It's the elbow. It's her elbow.
Let me bring that up.
Everyone else is very well. Everyone else at the same time.
I thought of the elbow.
The elbow's tucked. It's in here because it's easier to draw. 'Cause you can't get a model. He didn't have a camera. You can't get a model to hold their elbow out that for any amount of time. Oh. So that means he was like, "Can you hold your elbow out?" And he nailed it right away. Like you're like, oh, he's better. He had in the same way.
Didn't he go to the morgue and touch?
Who knows what he? Right, the circular one.
Yeah.
No, the other circular one. Sorry, that one. Yeah, this one? That one. Look at Look at her elbow. At the same time, they would have had it tucked in because the model can hold the pose longer.
Yeah.
He just was better. And by the way, the fact that he was just better than people that were around at the time, Raphael, fucking Leonardo da Vinci, is daunting.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about something else. I don't know this.
This is it's not one of his. This is what they use as proof that they were right to clean the Sistine Chapel. That he liked painting in bright colors because they cleaned the Sistine Chapel and it was bright as fuck.
Oh, wow.
And they didn't realize it was hundreds and thousands of years of smoke from the candles. They put this like brown layer on top that made it look kind of sepia and kind of dark and moody. It's like no, he wanted it to look like that. But I stood in front of that thing for...
Look at the folds of her dress. Look at that.
I stood in front of that for 25 minutes, and it was as interesting as watching anything on TV I've ever seen in my entire life. It was mind-blowing.
How does he get the clothing to fold like that? That's a painting.
And not for nothing, the painting's hard. I can look at most paintings and be like, I can figure that out. Now... The Pietà, the sculpture of Mary holding Jesus,
bring that up.
Looks like it breathes, motherfucker.
That's the one I was talking about.
You look at that and you're like, okay, where'd you start? In the corner? Yeah. Do you draw on the block?
But as a kid, I remember seeing that because my uncle lived in Rome. So as a kid,
Pieta,
we'd go to the different parts of Italy and
that thing...
That's so powerful. I remember this
It might be the greatest work of art of all time, in my opinion.
I remember this so well, because I remember as a boy, looking at this as a boy, and looking at his body, like he looked so pathetic and dead, and she's
Look at the push on the armpit where the fat's coming up.
It's crazy.
That's
out of stone, bro.
And
that's out of the marble.
He's so brilliant. If Mary stood up, she'd be 7.5 feet tall.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
he needs her to be big. It's like he knew when he does the David, he made the head big because he knew people were going to be looking up at it.
Wow.
This guy...
Well, that's her baby.
That's on... I don't even know how you quantify that level of understanding, intelligence, and talent at that time based on the available information he had access to. How do you even figure that out?
You figure it out because we haven't figured out anything...
It's the pyramids. It's the pyramids.
Well, but it's also you're looking at a human experience of a mother holding her child. You're looking at sorrow.
Yeah.
And you're looking at meta sorrow there. Okay. So that is not. That's when you look at that. That's the pain of the world, right? Every mother has held their child like that. Everybody who dies has a mother.
Absolutely.
All that stuff that goes on there. But there are certain things that the ancients knew and that we've never improved on.
Yeah.
We're good at getting our bodies somewhere faster. Mm-hmm. We're good at being able to talk to each other when we're in China and you're in New York. We're good at pushing ourselves beyond our biology. So I have a sickness and I can kill something in my body.
Sure.
We probably smell better because we have soaps and things. We're more nutrition. All that shit.
Renaissance smells were probably
pretty tough.
Woof.
Yeah. But so blah blah blah, right? So yes to that stuff, but about the human thing.
As far as tapping into our humanity, they were there, homie.
Correct.
Like that thing.
More connected.
And by the way,
connected.
This guy is making that piece about a woman holding her child, and he's essentially, by all accounts, a gay.
He's a gay.
So he's tapping into the female experience of motherhood.
Yeah.
In
Although
a way
in the ecstasy, I think he talks about Beatrice. Is that was that his?
Who knows?
Who was his wife, his girlfriend?
You don't think he's smart enough to change a name in a diary?
I know.
Come on.
I know.
I walked by his house. I'm walking down the street and I go, this building looks significant. I look up the address. It's where he lived while he's making the David. I'm like, so wait a minute. You're telling me in that room, he was like, fuck. Now I'm going to put the shit. Like, God damn it. Like, all pissed about it. I was like, when I see something where something happened, I'm like, are you fucking kidding
The
me?
legend is he would go to the morgue and feel the dead bodies.
Well, that's why, if you look at the Sistine Chapel, all the women just look like dudes with implants because you couldn't get female models. Oh. So the women are muscular. Oh. They're big. They have big arms. It's because he was just changing them to look like women.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it sounds so dumb. Like, Michelangelo was so good. But when you really look, it's almost, but modern art doesn't want to talk about it because it just would lower the prices of what's being made now. I remember there was an article that was like, why does this guy cost as much as Tiepolo? And it's just.
Well, no, come on. Look at him.
But there's one of the guys at the bottom was this guy who worked for the Pope. The guy, I think his face is coming off. And he would give Michelangelo a hard time all the time. He'd be like, we got to do this, change it, give him a hard time. So he painted him as this like disgraced dude.
Well, people don't realize that he was he was the Medicis, the family at the time.
Yeah.
They paid him. They commissioned him.
Money and art cannot be separated for the most part, unless you're talking about me, in which there is very little.
But I don't like that his characters
commerce.
have tiny dicks.
Well, what are you going to do? Put a giant schlong in a church?
Yeah, well, they got these great bodies, and let's see a dick on the guy. You know,
a lot of them are
heavy
covered.
Yeah.
No, David had a very tiny cock.
I know.
But,
it was tasteful.
That's just keeping it on the air. That's just keeping it on the air.
I guess you're right.
You don't want to scare people.
Yeah, but I want a heavy piece.
Oh no, I need one. I don't want to. I mean, it's like when you watch pornography. If the guy's not packing, I'm like, what am I watching here?
Exactly.
Do I go to the playground and watch pickup basketball? No, I watch the NBA. I want to see people fight with the right equipment.
You're goddamn right.
We're gonna watch a war. One side's got rifles, the other side's got rocks. Like, I don't want to watch this shit. It's one sided.
I know. Next,
I need to believability.
Let's see. I mean, look at that little thing.
Yeah,
don't even have
it's strange. It's strange. There's no way it's accurate. The guy that size. They did, and they took him off.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well built. Look at that touching God.
I have to go.
Adam.
I have to go back.
That's Adam touching God, correct?
That's God. That's creation of man.
Yeah.
I think I have to go back and look at one of the printouts. I'm almost positive one of the paintings. It's of a woman. Her thumb's on the wrong side. I'm almost convinced. I have to go back and look through it again. But I'm looking at it. I'm standing on the floor looking up, and I'm like, that lady's thumb's on the wrong side.
Look at that, though. Look at that. He's in a womb. It looks like God.
And by the way, that's a fresco. You have to paint color into wet plaster. It's awful.
Didn't he go blind painting?
I don't think so.
I think the paint was dripping in his eyes.
Yeah, but it wasn't
He was on
chemical.
his back.
No, I mean, that's a little bit of legend. He had a little bit of help.
Yeah.
I mean, but again, dude, what have you seen that's better than this?
Nothing.
We have to ignore its greatness because it makes us feel bad.
You guys didn't know that this was going to be Art Hour with Kevin Christy.
I did.
Are you learning something, Chin?
I'm learning a lot.
Everyone should just try to engage with art. If you don't, you're missing out.
Yeah.
It's like not listening to like classical music.
Art's the cornerstone of a culture. It's what we point to.
They say it's not
culture.
It's not. Someone said it's not necessary, but it's like. I forget the other word.
This is my issue.
You don't want to live without.
This is my issue with Dagestan, where Khabib's from. The president basically, MMA is everything, and all the kids, if you want to get ahead in the secret services and the army, and cultures like that put that much emphasis on one thing, are not doing the right thing.
Well, I haven't raised a hand in violence in over 30 years. Okay?
Come on, man, you look like a violent man.
I mean, on the inside,
you look like you shove your way around.
Just walk into a saloon.
Here comes the shover.
They're like,
Kevin Christy.
Keep it quiet. But like, I watch whenever I'm at the Comedy Store and there's that fight on, an MMA fight. It's fascinating to watch. Oh, yeah. And if you're not fascinated by it, you're kind of a dummy.
Fucking some fights this weekend.
It's
TJ Dillashaw.
What was the two guys who hated each other? Blonde guy,
TJ Dillashaw and Cody Garbrandt. Mm-hmm. And TJ Dillashaw proved himself to be
for the first.
He's just awe-inspiring.
For the first minute, you were like, "Oh shit, this guy's doing all right. This could be a real fight." And then the other, it was one of those things where like that guy has that other guy's number. and it may never change.
Well, TJ Dillashaw is his fight IQ, like Demetrius not Johnson, their fight IQ is so high. And what I mean by that is, first of all, there's nobody more competitive than TJ, and nobody, it seems, who comes alive more when it really counts in those championship fights. True champion. This marriage between him and Dwayne Ludwig is they're creating a work of art. You want to talk about art? When you watch that guy fight, he's so unorthodox, it's just a work of art. And TJ is a guy who can adjust. Even when he gets hit, he can adjust in milliseconds. He can just change everything. TJ is... Bring up a picture of me and TJ. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Do you have it on your Instagram or just pull it up?
Probably
online?
on Instagram. I don't know where it is, but I mean,
right.
but on Fighter and the Kid, we did it. And I said
like lightweights, so that's like what?
He fights at 135. I am so much bigger than he is. It's ridiculous.
Well, I've biggest fear in life is you're in a bar. Yeah, you're a little drunk.
There's me. There's me.
Yeah, you see this guy.
I'm a giant.
You
now,
think
if
to yourself,
I fought TJ, I said to Brendan, I go. I mean, he seems so small. And Brendan goes, "Oh yeah." He goes, "How do you want to lose?" How do you want to lose? Because that's what would happen. If I tried to fight him, it would just anybody my size. He's such a nightmare. He's so good.
That's what I love.
They figured out that Cody would drop his right when he'd throw his left. I think that's what it was. And so they just worked on that. And it's one thing to work on it, but Cody's fast as shit and a really good fighter and a really good boxer, of course. But he was just able to drop his head. He would dip his head way to the left and bring that right around.
Well, this is everyone, to me, the nightmare at every bar. You have 3. I don't drink, but you have enough to where you're not in your right mind. You see this guy, he bumps you on accident. You're like, hey pussy, watch where you're going. Yeah. And you decide to pick a fight with him because he's smaller than you. And then he's like, listen, you don't want to, I'm going to let you out of this. And he's trying, but you're being an asshole.
Yeah.
And then you're like, let's do this. And as I lift my slow, laboring, poorly aimed fist, he hits me 15 times.
He just...
In the kidneys. He doesn't even fuck with my face because like the cop's going to show up.
He does what he wants. It depends. Maybe he grabs you and chokes you unconscious.
He probably grab my wrist and do something where he's like, I'm trying to help you.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you wouldn't hit him because he'd just be...
Oh, no, I wouldn't connect.
He's a ninja.
Yeah. It's the speed. That's what athletes...
It's also like, he's also knows where to place his body.
That's what people who don't fight, I think, like, I don't know how to fight. And what non-fighters don't realize is there is such a thing as just being tremendously good at punching. It's like being good at hitting a ball or throwing a thing.
But with him, it's where you're punching from. Like for him, see, you talk about transcending. It's more than fighting with him. And this thing that he's doing is I'm telling you, it's art. It's fucking art.
You can't.
You think Bruce Lee, all those guys, go fuck yourself. That's the
when
real
you
life
open yourself to other experiences, you start to enjoy a lot of shit you had no idea. Yeah. Like my girl's always like, I had no idea you were gonna like it this much. And I was like, oh no, next year we're gonna go to Provincetown because it's like it's like drag Lollapalooza every year, and I'm going and I'm gonna watch like 30 drag shows. It's gonna be epic.
Yeah, because you're looking at something different.
Well, it's fascinating.
Most people are.
To me, it's like it's on like a anthropological level where you're like, this matters. Yeah. It's something that matters and will matter to like the human race, the progression of humans, and how they behave and treat each other.
Yes.
It's also like a cliff notes to lifestyles that a lot of people are too lazy and annoyed to want to do the reading about. You're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to call you. You're like, well, just watch the show. It's entertaining and funny, and you'll learn a bunch of shit.
Right.
You learn all the right verbs and whatever to call the pronouns to call each other. Yep. You're like, oh yeah, that reminds me of Peppermint. Peppermint's one of my favorite queens, and he's now a trans woman. And like, oh yeah, Peppermint. Like I have references to what people are talking about now. I'm like, no, it's like this. Like gender non-binary, like Jinkx Monsoon. Like it's just things you learn in an easier way.
Watch it.
It's so good. I try to get everyone to watch it, and it's so fun to talk about. As soon as I walk into the Comedy Store, Justin Martindale makes a beeline to me, so we can talk about the last episode.
How's he doing?
He's good, dude. He's funny right now. I was watching him the other day.
Hilarious.
But on stage, he seemed the control was great.
He's amazing. He was like,
no, you're at my show right now.
And a handsome fuck.
And the salad on that kid, that is a head of hair I would kill a homeless person for.
Funny dude, man.
Just a fun guy to be around. But him, Jade, they know I'm super into it, so they just go right to me and they're like, what do you think about Aquarius Last Look? And I'm like, here's what I feel about it. Because to me, I love dissecting it. It's so interesting.
God damn it.
Why someone wins a challenge, what their look was like, why the outfit was the way it was, was the lip sync on the level. Why? My favorite thing in the world on the show is sometimes the people that are at the bottom of the challenge, they have to lip sync against each other. And every blue moon, two people don't do the song justice, and RuPaul sends them both home.
He does?
Yeah.
He's
like double sachet, and it's very rare, and it is a kind of shame put on these people. He's like, both of you sachet away, and you're like, oh, God.
So when you're exiled, you're told to sachet away.
Sachet away. You either Shantae, you stay, which means you're still in the competition, or you sachet away. And he does it with love. He always tells the person who does, tells them, you are amazing. Now you get to go like show the world what you are. But he says, now sachet away. And every once in a while, two queens phone it in. And he's like, get the fuck off my show. And he sends them both out. And every time the rest guy's like, oh, because it means like, don't fucking do that. Like, how dare you? Don't disgrace the house I built through some of the most putrid shit I've had to deal with I built this for you. Do not do this. It's great.
Amazing.
A double sachet.
Is he always dressed like that? Or no.
He goes into the workroom to tell him about the challenges. He's usually dressed in a very beautiful suit. He's also very tall.
Yes.
I mean, in drag, he's an imposing
I worked with him
figure.
on Mad TV.
What an honor.
And I didn't know who I was dealing with.
Yeah.
And he was very polite and very kind of like together. But I'm not going to say I had a judgment on it. I just thought I was afraid of him a little bit because I thought he'd probably think I was uncool anyway. And I just was like, that drag shit. And I also looked at him as a drag queen. And I looked at him as kind of like the lower rung of culture, maybe.
Yeah.
I had a judgment. I didn't know.
For sure.
I didn't know him. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know the significance of who I was dealing with.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. So I remember I regret not having cornered him and gotten to know him.
You're talking about someone who, in the world of drag, is basically irreplaceable. Like, I think about this all the time. Like, who takes the mantle after he's gone? There's really no one right now who could. Oh, Shangela, one of my favorite queens. That one on the left with the little afro. Shangela, fantastic queen. Great queen right there. So funny, great lip syncer, great dancer.
All right, let's go to some. Kevin's fucking nerding out on this shit.
This is my new thing. I love it so much.
Let's fucking do some current goddamn events.
I spend money on this stuff.
I love it.
Also, the best is Leslie Jones got into it just after I did and is watching episodes that are 5 years old and live tweeting them and basically reigniting these feuds that have long been squashed. And these poor drag queens are now being like replied because Leslie's like, you're being an asshole. And they're like, I was 5 years ago. Please, I've dealt with this. Oh my God. Like, she's coming at like the enemy of my favorite queen was this queen, Roxy Andrews. And Leslie's just like, you're just fucking jealous. And Roxy's like, please.
Yeah, these are reruns, bro. This is channel 13.
Literally, she's 5 years behind. It's so fucking great.
I love
But yeah,
Leslie.
we DM about it all the time. I'm like, All Stars 2 is
I haven't seen Leslie.
She's in New York all the time.
I love Leslie.
Oh, Leslie.
God bless her.
Talk about
God
a flamethrower.
bless her success. And God bless, she's such a good person. She was always a great person.
And a murderer.
And a murderer and a great person. And to see her success come now, you know what I mean? She's a beautiful person, man.
What a joy.
I love her. God bless her. Always good, always cool, always great to people, always positive, never an asshole, always a good person. Like, never, always had something good to say to everybody. Yep. Always just walking around like a good person.
Yeah.
And got it.
Alyssa Edwards, great queen right next to Leslie there. Alyssa Edwards have her own reality show.
Let's go to current events.
Look, I'll turn this into a drag podcast.
God damn,
all
will you ever?
Day.
And I love it. Too bad Brendan's not here. He probably watches it. A giant moth.
Yeah.
Tell about this.
The giant.
Do you watch baseball?
Yeah.
So you're a sports guy too.
A little bit. I mean, to me, the baseball's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
baseball,
sport.
tennis.
It's the beautiful sport.
Yeah, it's beautiful to watch. I love that it's slow.
A bug flew in the ump's ear.
And moth. He had to go into the dugout. It flew in not only just his ear, like deep in, where he needed help. He needed help getting it out.
What, it got scared? Let me see.
By the way, you
can see him pull it out.
We have very little information about the lives of umpires. Where's that show?
Yeah, you're right.
Where's that scripted show, Bryan?
They have to be very subtle.
That's what I mean.
Hold on.
See it? Pulls it out right there, and then the guy holds it, and it's still flapping its wings.
Still flapping. Like a champion. He wants back in. He's not done. That lip sync's
not over. Get the fuck out of here. That's weird,
not over
man.
For that moth. Let him back on stage.
Freaky stuff.
So weird.
Weird. It'd be funny if it flew back into his ear. All right.
Yeah.
That's weird. There are bugs. There are bugs that'll lay eggs in your skin.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, you know that, right? The New Guinea worms.
Well, I got ravaged by a spider the other night. Woke up to multiple bites.
How do you know it was a spider?
Because if you pull so you get a red bump, right?
Yeah.
Stretch it out to make it lighter. You'll see lots of little bites.
Ugh.
Spiders, they get trapped and they go da-da-da-da-da to try to get away from you.
Oh, it got.
So it looks like one big bite.
This?
I've been bitten by so many spiders. So like you look, where's a current? I can't find it. But like if you pull it apart, you'll see like smaller bumps. That's usually a spider.
Damn.
To my understanding.
That's gross.
Yeah.
Little bumps.
Yeah.
Bite you in panic.
I mean, my house right now is it's like a bug haven, but it's my fault. I let them live there because I like it.
Because you raise bugs.
Well, there's a skunk that lives under my house and it's cute, so I let it stay. I'm not trying to get it out of there. I see a little.
Yeah, I wouldn't want
tail.
to. Just be nice to it. Don't get it riled up.
Yeah.
Let's see the next current event.
Sure. Were you guys Mighty Ducks fans at all? The Disney Mighty Ducks.
Oh, this guy, dude. That mugshot is rough.
I did not expect him to look like that.
No.
Remember this cute little kid from Mighty Ducks?
I thought it was fake. I thought the mugshot was fake. It's like that guy's sprinkling meth on his food and then smoking the meth afterwards.
He's 37.
What?
I think 37 years old.
That's like how Alex Jones is 44. You're just like, nah. I don't
Sean
buy it.
Weiss.
He's 37?
Arrested for public intoxication.
Fame is a dangerous thing. It's a toxic element, man. And if not handled correctly, if given, there's that saying, if you want to ruin someone's life, give them fame and money at a young age. Fame early, man, is a toxic element. Very few people make it out.
What did he just got into drugs, obviously.
Yeah.
37 years old. Look at him.
Yeah,
he looks
it's
every
terrible.
bit of 60.
That's a 55 to 60-year-old man. Like, you see him on Cops. He's the one lying about huffing spray paint.
Damn.
When, like, were you huffing paint? And the guy goes, no. And then he goes, you have paint all over your mouth. And he goes, I've been huffing paint.
Sean Weiss.
Yep.
I never
It's a
saw
bummer,
that.
man. I hope he gets it together.
Yeah, well,
He doesn't have any teeth.
yeah.
Look at that mouth structure. That's no teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely some missing.
That's just, you became a wretch.
Did you see the picture of Smalls from The Sandlot where a guy's wearing the shirt that says, you're killing me, Smalls? And he sees him on the street, him and his friends, so they go, let's get a picture. Guy has no idea why he wants the picture. That's pretty great.
That's the big chubby
The
kid,
redheaded
right?
dude.
Yeah.
I see him at the market sometimes.
Is he all bunched up?
And he seems fine. He's on a show right now on like Netflix.
Oh.
He's doing all right. He seems fine.
Okay.
I root for people former child stars, I root for them. Because way to turn your brain around.
Yeah, it doesn't end well for a lot of, like Corey
Haim, Corey Feldman.
Who's the other one? Corey
Feldman.
Right? That guy's just creepy.
I went to a party at Corey Feldman's house when I was 17, and he was a sweet, sweet guy. He was a sweet guy.
Yeah.
But you get dragged into him. I believe everything that guy says about what happened to him. I believe.
Yeah.
Because he's not stupid. Look at his performances in those movies. He's obviously a smart dude who could do his job.
Strange guy, just strange. That's it. I'm not saying anything bad about him. I just, when I look at what Hollywood has done to people, like they're just aliens. They're just different.
Well, no, you can't give all of yourself to Hollywood because eventually they throw everyone away.
Well, fame doesn't. I always say fame doesn't actually exist. It's not a thing.
No, fame's doing heroin, man. If you buy into it, you're fucked. Yeah. Try it, whatever. But don't make it a lifestyle. Otherwise, you're hosed.
It ends in a weird.
Yeah, who's managed to use fame the right way their whole existence?
You
no
see
one.
People who just like a guy like Johnny Depp who's been working so hard to stay so cool, and now he doesn't have the money, and that weird bankruptcy situation.
Steve Simone says it all the time. The biggest mistake is thinking you're cool.
Well, Johnny Depp has been holding that.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the way the guy dresses.
What do you do when someone tells you you're cool every 10 seconds for 30 straight years?
You wear handkerchiefs that hang deep out of your pocket.
You have so many. That guy has more worth in leather bracelets than I do in home ownership.
It takes so much work to get dressed. And
I'm at the Glendale Galleria, and they have those billboards for his cologne Sauvage, and I'm like, what are we doing?
He's wearing eyeliner here.
Yeah. No.
Right? He's got stay humble and be humbled. You're not.
No, go home and read a book about war. You're grandpa age.
Man, he looks old. Look at the tattoos and
he's getting plastic surgery. You're like, come on, man. This isn't the move.
He looks very, very, he looks drawn. But what happens is when I think he drinks a lot, I think there's a lot of, from what I read in the Rolling Stone, I don't know, but there's a lot of smoking too. Smoking will age you.
But you watch that guy's inside the actor studio, he's cool as shit, man.
Yeah. By the way, talented, great actor.
Very talented.
But there's a lot of vanity going on, man. That's a lot of vanity.
That's what we were saying earlier about like toupees. You're like, okay, it tells me something when you can't let something go. Like, you're not cool enough. You still gotta care that much about your hair or your face, or like, it's not enough. It hasn't been enough. The adoration you get. That's why I love, like, Marlon Brando got so big. He was like, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
I've felt sexy enough.
Yeah.
What do I want? More?
Super fat.
I just want to eat.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
He kind of destroyed himself
forever.
He should have just been. I don't know.
I
don't like the wasted potential, or I think it goes back to that, like fame, the attention. If you buy into it, because he keeps having to do it. That's a lot of work. Just like, I don't have the energy, like the amount of bracelets and like you got to tie those and put those on yourself.
I was listening to.
You can't do things. You can't run around.
Like I love design and I love the way clothes and sneakers look, but at some point I had to realize, while I love those sneakers, they will look stupid on me. Like, I can't wear them, where it's like, I look, I'm like, those are so fucking cool looking.
Yeah.
They're fluorescent. They look like space boots, but I would look idiotic. Like,
yeah, I'm the same way. I don't have the hair or the look for it.
Neither one of us have the hair for it.
No. If I had that hair, it would be very tempting to be cool as fuck.
I wear all black basically all the time, so I'm like, stop looking at me. I'm a product of my skill set, and that's it.
Well, all this stuff that he's done worked for him. He was, when he was younger, he was undeniably cool and beautiful.
It's like, did you see that documentary about Tower Records? It's called All Things Must Pass. No. Colin Hanks made it. But Tower Records grew every single year until it failed.
Yeah.
Like, they grew exponentially, like everything, and then all of a sudden it was like, nope. Yeah. They had no reason not to keep expanding because it only worked.
Technology came along.
Yeah, we are limited as far as our perception of what we should and shouldn't do.
Well, that's also like, we are also limited. We don't know the destructive force of the future.
And we never stop being babies that want attention.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah, that's for damn sure.
I love when I see, like, when I'm in Beverly Hills and you see a guy, like an old guy who's got a new wife, and she took him shopping, and it's like, new clothes, same shoes, because that guy's feet fucking hurt. Like, you're not, like, he's like, my doctor will yell at me if I get different shoes.
God, that's so funny and
it's
true.
It's just like orthopedic, those Mephistos that cost $400.
Yeah, the Mephistos.
That's how you know a guy's rich. Yeah. You're like, those are orthopedic shoes. If you read Mephisto, you're looking at a guy with money.
You're right. Right. They're $400, $500.
But you see me, he's like, babe, I can't. I got to think, like, you can't. These are made for me. I'm not throwing these away.
Ain't that the fucking truth, bro?
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
Because his back's killing him. He just had surgery. You're not going to fuck it up.
I asked my wife if I could wear those one time. She was like,
they're not bad looking. There's a pair that's not that bad looking. But I worked for this commercial director. I love those brown ones. That's how boring I am.
I'll never wear them.
These guys?
Yeah, I love those.
I'm wearing Golden Goose. These are expensive as shit. They're designer sneakers made by hand by a husband and wife team in Italy.
Yeah. Good shoes are worth the money.
They are.
They are. Because it's your back and your feet, man.
Comfy. I thought those were Converse. They're not Converse.
No, they're...
David Letterman said a thing, halfway through the day, change your shoes. It's like putting on whole new feet. If you really want to fuck around, put on new socks.
Yeah.
You're ready to change the world.
Yeah. Well, when you're an actor, you should get the shoes right. They'll change how you do it.
It changes your walk.
I've been sitting too much. I was on a plane for 13 hours.
Yeah, you didn't talk about your trip that much. Was there anything cool, exciting, fun?
I didn't do enough. I had the best duck I've ever had in Beijing.
Your microphone's
your mic lilted at that story.
I had the best duck. I had the best duck I've had.
I've never seen a mic roll its eyes before. That's what just happened.
Yeah. My trip was
Zagat's, who gives a shit?
My trip was shit because I got to Beijing and I found out we had to drive 2.5 hours. So I said, before we go, I have to eat and I want authentic Chinese. The woman said, are you sure you want Chinese? I want real Chinese. She goes, because we can go to McDonald's. I go, listen to me. I want Chinese food. So we went to this Chinese restaurant. They had bullfrog stew.
Wow.
They had duck feet in mustard, wasabi. They had turtle soup. They had small turtles or big turtles in soup.
Come on,
guys.
The
shell.
Poor turtle.
They had they had chicken viscera. So you had chicken guts. So you got to remember, China has a lot of people to feed, and we went through famine.
You use all of it.
You eat everything.
You use all of it.
You eat everything. And then I had pork, and like you think it's pork, it's something heavily spiced Hunan shit that's heavily spiced.
It's a medley.
You don't know what you don't know the meat.
Medley.
You don't know. She said, she goes, you don't know what you're eating.
It's
you just never
a
know.
medley.
And vegetables, but I have to say that it's good. Like you're going to eat some spicy shit. My skin didn't like it. My skin didn't like it. My skin hated it. But because I get psoriasis, so everything blew up.
Stop flirting.
I know, it's hot. But having said that, and then we drove to Tianjin, which is a sprawling city of 10 million at least.
Shoved into a space as big as Glendale.
Yeah, and things on a movie set in Tianjin or in China in general, are not the smooth running machine that is Hollywood. A lot of people don't know because they're not experienced. The film industry is about 10 years old. So there's a lot of glitches. There is no air conditioning and it's 95 degrees inside. You're in a suit.
Humid?
It was a very intensely uncomfortable. Yeah. And then when I went to the old part of Tianjin, well, there is no real old part. There's some architecture built by the British back in the day, but that's all been turned into shops that are selling the things you see on Hollywood Boulevard. And it was so hot, and I went and ate dumplings at a street restaurant, a place where you go.
Yeah.
And even the woman I was with, who was Chinese, who was from Beijing, was like, I can't eat this stuff.
Now,
it was tough. Bottom line is, Tianjin is not. It is a. Again, this is from a Westerner who only saw very little of it. But from what I could tell, when you walk around, you're just seeing. You spell it Tiangin. You just see it's giant buildings. It's a vertical experience.
Yeah.
It's concrete everywhere, and it's not the prettiest place.
What do you net after taxes for that job? Like, what'd you bring home? Was it worth that?
No.
Okay.
Yes, but it's my friend's movie. Good time.
Oh yeah.
Megan Fox, Josh Duhamel, the great people.
Oh, great.
Love them. But
Josh Duhamel.
Shooting in China is an experience, and it's going to be different, and it's going to be it's going to have its challenges. I have a lot of respect for Chinese culture, Chinese people, but it's not.
Remember
an easy
the movie
place.
we were in together?
I want to go see China. I want to see China the way you should see China, with somebody who's Chinese who can take me to...
From a fighter jet. Attacking. That's the way.
No, sir. No, sir. No, that's crazy.
Taking over a territory.
No, I don't want to be...
From behind a rifle.
No, dude.
Is that what you mean? That's not what I mean, but I feel like that's what you mean.
No, that's not what I mean. I don't want to colonize.
From a cockpit.
No. I don't want to be...
Tap into yourself.
No.
Tap into your lineage.
No, I don't want to do...
You're talking a lot about history. I want you to tap into
China.
What your people started out in this world doing.
No, sir.
What you're good at.
No. I don't want to colonize China.
Oh.
I want to... But thank you from behind a rifle. From a fighter jet. No. I want to see China. I want to be... Yes, I want to be carried on shoulders.
Right.
Yeah,
is the rickshaw Chinese or is that a Japanese?
I think it might be Chinese.
I think
certainly
it's Chinese,
Southeast
too.
Asian. Look, China is it's very different.
It's not going anywhere.
No. I want to go see the parts of China. I want to see Shanghai, the parts of China. Yeah, okay, here's what I should say about China. You get a sense with China, and you're right when you get this sense, I'm sure, that when you go to China as a foreigner, as an American who's shooting a movie there, that you're not going to see anything of China.
No.
You're going to know nothing.
They're not letting you see it.
You are only going to see China if you live there and you learn the language and you are friends with people who live there. And you will see an under tapestry. There's an under tapestry. There's a subterranean flow that is not privy to your eyes, sir, until you invest in China.
Yeah.
If you invest in China, it's like learning the language. You want to learn Chinese? If you want to learn how to read the newspaper in Chinese, I will see you, sir, in 10 years, and that study better be dedicated. I'll see you in 10 years.
For real.
But that means if you're training, living there, and practicing it every day.
Yeah.
Otherwise, fuck off. Although I did meet a Russian guy who was there. All the extras were Russian, all of them. And there was one woman from Congo, beautiful woman from Congo, who's every bit of 6'2", and a man from Zimbabwe who was getting his medical degree there, who was about a big 6'2", big. But everybody else was Russian, playing Americans. And
You're
they
like
spoke
the
English.
Vin Scully of podcasting, where he always loved to say how tall and heavy a guy was. He's like, big fella, 6'2", 235-pounder.
Yeah.
And then some arcane fact.
That would be me.
Loves frogs.
185, no neck, close set shoulders, big arms, small feet, and high insertion calves. Many fast. I'll do that all day. But the Russian guy who was the extra said, "Yeah, it's a lot of opportunity here. It's good because there's much opportunity." And then he broke into fluent Mandarin, and I said, "Do you speak Chinese?" He goes, "Yeah, it's not hard, And I said, "How long it take you?" "About 1 year. It's easy, I go, "Did you say it's easy?" He goes, "Yeah, it's different than the English is very easy, but but Russian English is very easy, of course, but Chinese is more difficult, but it's not too hard. Mandarin." I was like, dude, who the fuck are you? Speaking, easing between Russian, English, and Mandarin, just back and forth.
You go to like Scandinavia and everyone's like, what language do you speak? I've got it. And you're
I know.
We are so lazy.
Because they have to be.
We don't even learn Spanish.
We don't need to. I want to learn Spanish.
Me too. Seems like a dumb.
And I'm gonna get back into my French.
French is a beautiful language. And the French, I think, the French are very important. I find French culture very important. Philosophy, just the sense of their sense of beauty.
The French have contributed much to this
fashion,
to this country.
To say nothing of fashion.
Yeah,
fashion matters.
Philosophy.
Again, fashion's one of those lighthouses that people who are different are like, wait, I can go there.
Yep,
I can go work there all day.
Lafayette, a Frenchman, laid Washington, D.C. out like the spokes of a wheel.
Where Ben Franklin apparently figured out what macaroni and cheese wasn't France.
Ben Franklin spent some time in France.
So if you like macaroni and cheese, and we know you do because you're not an idiot, thank you, France.
Le fromage.
I think they're...
Fromage avec le macaroni.
The French and the Belgians are arguing right now about who invented French fries. They want to lay claim to it.
I think they say that cheese originated in Turkey, but who knows?
Again, these are old places, and when you go to them, you're like,
Turkey.
They were doing some stuff here for a long time.
Well, that's why Iraq. It's like Iraq. The Americans come in. Bush is going to restructure the Middle East. Interesting. It's where wasn't it Babylon? They've got a historical footprint that's 5,000 years old.
Yeah.
But you Americans are going to come in and tell the Iraqis how to do it. Are you?
You're using our numerals still.
Yeah.
But tell us again how we get to use them.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah. They come on.
No.
They've been around.
Arrogance serves you very little in this life.
Hubris, everyone. Next current event, please.
You made me think of a couple things. Well, how did China smell, first of all? Did it smell normal?
Well, that's a good question, though, because Bangkok smelled like there was a lot of fish and garlic
kind of
everywhere.
a plumbing system are they working? Because in Italy, I was
they're
awestruck by the aqueduct shit they were inventing back then.
The Chinese are technologically sound.
Yeah.
They've moved. You don't get internet. You're not getting Google.
No.
You're not getting Twitter. You're not getting Instagram. They have that shit down on lockdown. You'll get. By the way, when you go into China, you will give them your thumbprints. You will give them your right hand and left hand fingerprints. You will give them your face. They record everything. And by the way, I was given a Chinese phone to use. I was given a cell phone that made and controlled by China. And I will use WeChat and their internet, their system of communication, because that can be monitored.
Yeah.
And it is monitored by the government.
Especially yours. They were like, they read
guy's
everything you said.
Yeah.
Well, the porn and also just the fact
you're
that
not
you're
getting
a foreigner.
porn. You're not. You can get, but you break through the internet because they can't control it. So there are different servers that they'll tell you to log on to get your Google and to get your stuff, and then it gets shut down. And you have to start all over again. So when you are working in production and you have to look things up and do stuff, you need your Google, but you have to go through it you have to circumvent their security forces, their firewalls, and they got a lot of firewalls. So they control information. They control what you see. They control the historical narrative that is China. So the young people, a lot of young people are not going to hear about Tiananmen Square. A lot of young people aren't going to hear about these things.
Yeah.
The young people are told, the narrative is controlled to the best of their ability. And you'd think that they couldn't, but the Chinese government has been able to do it to a large extent. But it's a losing battle. I mean,
where do you fall on that philosophically?
I think it's terrible.
Team sports versus individualism.
I don't agree with it. I don't agree with any central authority. I don't agree with any
But how do you have
command
none
economy.
And avoid total chaos?
The great experiment that the United States has contended with from its inception was a republic has to have a strong central government. But the founding fathers argued vehemently about the how much authority should a central government have? Should we have a standing army? I mean, so Americans on the left and the right, but Americans have always had a very healthy distrust of the federal government. This conspiracy theory, this stuff with Bush talking about fake news, this stuff about we can't trust the FBI, we can't trust our institutions. This is not new. This is part of the American character, and probably to an extent an important aspect. I don't agree with the crazy conspiracy theorists. I don't like Alex Jones and stuff, but it has its roots in the American character. The American character is to distrust central authority and authority in general. I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm a guy who believes in small government. If that makes me right wing, okay, you can label me any way you want. But I am always distrustful of central authority. And there is a movement toward socialism in this country. I think it's very destructive, very dangerous, because if you create a powerful central authority in the name of giving those who don't have power more power, what's going to happen always is the people who are delineating that power are going to take power themselves.
Always.
So if you're closer to the government, you will have more power. It's exactly what happens in communist countries. You create an elite. That elite just happens to be aligned with the forces that be in Beijing or in Washington, D.C. And so be careful. Decentralize power. The individual should reign supreme. That's how I feel. That's the American way. And I think history bears me out. And I feel, if you haven't noticed, very strongly about it. Marxism and socialism are, to me, they ultimately, the people that believe them are not evil. But I believe that the hell is paved down that path.
I sometimes think people that feel the way you do sometimes tend to lean towards that side because you're a smart, talented person. And not everyone is born smart and talented. It's a bit like height. Intelligence is a thing that can be developed, but also you can be born with just less of it. You can be born with less of IQ. It's like any other talent. Yeah. And a lot of us who are like, let people do what they want. And individuals, like, some people genuinely don't know what they're doing and don't know what to do.
Well, I felt that way. I mean, thank you for the comment, but I have to say, I had dinner with Peter Thiel. And he's the guy who created. He's the first investor in Facebook, and he's $3 billion. I mean,
is he he's the Hulk Hogan?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Who paid the lawyer?
Peter Thiel is if you watch Silicon Valley, the guy in the first seasons who was that really powerful guy who
he took down Gawker.
Yes,
yeah.
And Peter Thiel is so smart. Like I was having dinner, and I first of all I spoke too much at the dinner. I should have shut the fuck up and listened to that guy because he's so smart. It was Eric Weinstein, who's amazing, who coined the idea, the term intellectual dark web, who I love. But Peter, when you listen to him speak, you go, "Oh, that's why you have $3 billion." Oh, you think? See, when I talk, I regurgitate the things I've read and I put them together. Sure. Yeah, I do. I parrot.
It's a quilt of other people's brains.
It's a quilt of other people's brains. Yeah. That's Bryan Callen. I admit it freely. And I remember shit.
By the way, that's what almost all of us are.
Not Peter Thiel.
Nope.
Peter Thiel comes up with his own constructs and his own ideas, and it's incredible. I'm dying to get him on the podcast. I'm just such a fan. Yeah. And he's young. He's a year younger than me, which hurts me.
When I'm around actual smart people, you're like, oh wait.
Yeah.
I should just zip it.
He's just a bad motherfucker. And by the way, I mean, first investor in Facebook. He's on the board of Facebook. I mean, Craig. He was the PayPal guy. Along with Elon
people
Musk.
that see things coming that far away.
Yeah, I mean,
that guy was Howard Schultz, the guy who started Starbucks.
Yeah,
his wife's dad was kind of a successful dude and was like, "Come work for me. I can't have my daughter, this isn't going to work. This coffee thing you're doing, it's like, I love you. You're a great guy. You seem like a good dude.
Yeah.
But this is bullshit. I can't have her living like this. He's like, just wait. Just wait. Yeah. He saw it. He was like, no. I see this. There's going to be millions of them, and people are going to come and sit and hand me $5 for a thing they paid $1 for the day before.
Yeah.
And when you see it work, you're like, what the fuck? You see it in everything, skateboarding, everything. There's this guy, Pat Duffy, was the first guy to grind down a round handrail that was kinked. And the skater goes, I can do it because I saw Pat do it. Who the fuck told Pat to do it? Like, how did he see it? He just looked at it and was like, okay. It's that weirdness, those people where you're like, okay, man, I guess you're on. There are people that exist on other planes.
Yeah.
Peter
Thiel's one of them.
There's some of the special people. You're like, okay, you're on another level thing. Like, we're all talented, whatever, but like, you see the world differently. It's almost smaller to you, to where you can see the whole board. It's like a great chess player.
Yes.
Did you see that documentary, Magnus?
No.
It's on Netflix about this like young chess. He's one of the youngest grandmasters. And I love those footages of when they get one of those guys, like a young grandmaster, and they have him play like 20 people at once, who are quote unquote, they're not professionals, but they're good.
Yeah.
And this kid's handing them their ass. He's playing 20 games at once and kicking the shit out of all of them like he just woke up, like he's sleepwalking. He's like click, click. And every time he walks by and does it, the player, a grown man in his 40s, is just like, oh, fuck. Like they see the move and they're like, oh, shit. Like, because they didn't see it.
Did you read the book, The Art of Learning by Josh Waitzkin?
No.
He was a chess prodigy. And he said at 6 years old, everything looked familiar to him. The chessboard.
So weird.
And he said, he breaks down why he can beat 50 people at once. It's because he's seen the chessboard so many times that you haven't. So he's played that game 50 times, 55,000 times. So he goes, oh, I see what you're doing. And there's just no way
This kid's a sweetheart too. It's a great documentary. Too. Yeah. And he's from I think he's from Scandinavia. He's German or something.
What's his name? Magnus?
Magnus.
He's probably from Iceland.
And maybe.
I think he's from the land of the
Carlson.
giants.
Really thick hair, great hairline.
Magnus Carlsen. That looks like either Swedish or Iceland. Find out where
that chess playing brain is really something. Really something. But I love watching those guys kick the shit out of 20 people at once.
Norwegian.
Okay.
Norway.
Scandinavia is very interesting from a socialist perspective because they seem to have made it work. But it's also way less people.
Sort of. Yeah.
Low numbers.
Really bad. Every academic who's a socialist who's on my podcast, every one of them that uses the Scandinavian model. It's so played out and it's so boring because you're like, bad example.
I went
also
to
not
art
doing that
school
well
with a guy from Scandinavia, and he was like, you can't break out. You have to wait in line to do anything in your life.
Yeah, believe me, it's a bad example.
Our driver in Scandinavia was this guy who was a magician. He was the guy who was in charge of picking me and Whitney up at the hotel and take us to the venue, wherever, I forget what country we're in. And he was a really good magician. And so Whitney just had him open for us one of the shows.
Really?
And he was amazing.
Wow.
And you could tell, you could feel this thing inside of him like, get me out of here. I want to break out of this. Yeah. But where he was, it was like, no, you turn 18, you go on the list to get an apartment, you go to college for free, everything's taken care of, and that's a beautiful thing. But if you want to assert your
independence, I always say, forget right and left. It just comes down to what degree and what percentage of your money and your power and your sovereignty do you want to give to a governing body? Yeah. You have to an extent. You have to have government. You have to have laws.
You got to fill a pothole.
But what percentage of your freedom, of your money, of your decision making? Just tell me. Some people have no problem giving it 50% for the greater good. Some people have no problem giving 70%. I don't feel comfortable with those numbers. I tend to believe that if you give people 90% or 85% sovereignty, you're probably going to have a better world because human beings are so complicated and you're going to reward individual initiative. Yeah. You're going to have inequalities. The biggest problem is, how do we solve the problem that some people produce a lot and most people don't produce anything? I don't know. Look at
you can't. It's not fair to live in a world where you pay a brain surgeon as much as someone who does basically nothing. Someone goes to that degree to teach themselves and learn a thing, and is arguably more important to the whole.
You need
the whole. Like when you have to go get surgery and you talk to a doctor, you're like, I'm real glad you're here, dude. And they're telling you shit you don't understand, but they seem confident about it.
Or they come up with a business idea, or they come up with a product that you're willing to pay for. So when FedEx or UPS came out and said, hey, You don't have to rely on the U.S. Post Office.
How
anymore.
old were you when you first noticed the arrow in the FedEx logo?
Jesus, I was a long. I don't.
It took me longer than it should have, but when you see it for the first time, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Paul
and they
Rand.
solved the problem.
Paul Rand, you guys.
It has to get there overnight. Oh, holy shit. And somebody said, let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's figure it out. And we all paid for it, and they became a huge company.
Look at that arrow just sitting right there.
Oh, you mean that arrow?
Yeah, buddy.
Never saw it.
Paul Rand, not a dumb designer, designed the IBM logo.
Wow.
Yeah, buddy.
I never saw that.
Exactly. But now that you know it's there, holy shit.
Yeah, because you said the arrow. I was like, I don't know.
It's a delivery company, and the arrow between the E and... Can you imagine the day he saw that?
Do I see that without knowing it?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. It
Now I
probably
do.
tells you why do you like FedEx.
Now I do.
You don't like blue and orange. You're not a Knicks fan. But you see that, and you're like, it'll get there. It's going a direction. Now it's going left to right, which is a Western thing only. Yeah. It probably doesn't work in Japan or China or Asian countries.
Well,
that
in
much.
the Arab, you write Arabic left, right to left.
Oh, yeah. The first time you buy a Japanese comic book, you're like, why is it like this?
Yeah.
Like, because you're reading it the wrong way.
You write it towards your heart, right? The Quran's written. You read it from right
But
to
look
left.
at that arrow just right there. Plain sight. Hiding in plain sight. So good.
That's pretty wild.
And it's and no one thinks that logo's like sexy.
No.
But fucking A, man. You know what else is a great logo? The Hartford Whalers. W made out of the tail. Good. It's a good logo.
Let me see that.
You don't care? I love a good logo is like...
Yeah, because you're an artist.
Well, it's usually a visual pun.
Oh.
That's hot shit. They should bring the team back
fuck.
just because the logo's so good.
Damn, that looks...
Look at that.
That's a whale's tail.
Sexy. So good. I love a good logo.
Whalers. Yeah.
Philadelphia Flyers is a great logo.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Why?
Red. It's just beautiful. Red Wings. Doesn't necessarily have a clever twist, but it's beautiful.
I like twists.
You like a twist?
I'm bored with the Philly.
What's a the Big Ten, the old Big Ten logo, where the hole in the zeros and 11. That's a smart fucking logo because there was 11 teams, not 10. Oh. That's a good one, dude. Look at the 11. Look at the 11.
Damn, that's
this
cool.
Graphic designers deserve respect. You figured that out. How do I hide an 11 in the... You're like, I got to make it... Do you know the Big Ten has 11 teams? You're like, what do you mean?
Damn.
Are you going to change the name to the Big 11? No.
Cool, man.
Make a logo. What do you mean? How do I... We need to know there's 11 teams. How? And then some poor nerd who looks probably just like me hunched over a table for days.
Well, if we didn't have nerds, we wouldn't have iPhones. So shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You can be nice to your nerds if you're in school.
Your skateboards wouldn't have graphics on them.
Exactly. Next current event.
What was it?
That logo's so smart.
The rickshaw was Japan. I just looked it up. And then you guys were talking about child stars. Did you see Macaulay Culkin on Joe Rogan's podcast?
No.
Nah.
It was pretty interesting. He's like
together.
A normal, just a goofy.
I heard
dude.
a rumor that's because when he was about doing Home Alone 2, they realized that someone at Fox was like, we got to hide some of this kid's money in a place no one can get to it because the people in charge of him are suspect. It was like some family people. Like there was like maybe a dad or a stepdad that they don't fuck with anymore. And they put a chunk away and it kept him well taken care of.
So he's got money now?
Yeah, he said he's set. He just does what he wants.
Set. I mean, Home Alone was a cash cow.
What does he do, though, now?
He started a comedy website.
Yeah.
And he has people submit. I don't even think it's super public, but he has people like, you can just write for him. He wants to have like a funny website full of funny things. I don't know to what degree it's at right now. He's an interesting dude, though. He got
out of show business.
He seems to have survived being a child star by just pulling out of it completely. I mean, he did he's fucking around, did stuff with Larry.
He got out of
Hollywood, at least. Larry Clark did some cool photos of him, Harming Korean. He hung out with some weirdo artists.
Yeah.
You got to pull yourself out of it.
New York back in the day.
I think he moved to New York and stayed there, which is a smart thing to do if you're a young, famous person with money.
Yeah, I'd see him skateboarding around. I was like, that's Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, he was kind of part of that like early 90s New York art thing, alleged gallery, and just that dirtbag street art kind of beautiful losers thing. Just around those people, because New York doesn't give a fuck who you are. Yeah, like eventually they're like, what do you do that I should care about?
When you're in the architecture of New York, it's like Beijing. It's when you're sort of dwarfed by these massive buildings and everything, you can't feel that significant.
It's like standing in front of a giant tree.
Go to Naples. Yeah.
You're like, I ain't done shit.
Exactly. Go to Naples and see those giant marble buildings that have been there for 1,000 years. Enjoy feeling significant.
The Parthenon with that hole in the middle where the rain comes through.
Yep.
It lands on the floor. It doesn't go anywhere because they tilted the floor just enough.
Yeah.
It just goes and disappears.
Yeah.
You're like, you fucking brilliant bastards. Yeah. And the dome doesn't, the Brunelleschi's dome, you're like, how? Yeah. Where'd you start? Yeah. How'd you figure it out? You were the first. It was the biggest.
How did they measure the circumference of the Earth with shadows?
That shit, when they're like, because when they explain it, it's so simple. Like, oh, he noticed this curvature and then he noticed this star. You're like, back up.
Yeah.
You know, it's still the most confusing thing to me is the photograph. Some guy was like, no, I bet if we dip this piece of paper in mercury and then the sun hits it, but we put it like, oh, shut up. Are you a wizard? You're a wizard. You're basically a wizard. Yeah. Because you figured that out.
It's like the ancients. There's this chronological snobbery, this idea that everything we've done now is better than, and everything old is bullshit. No,
come on, homie.
Go back to your history, man.
Oof.
Next.
You got to.
This is about you, Bryan. John Joseph was talking about you on Joe Rogan's podcast about a fight, some crazy fight you're in.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know about this?
You were in when were
I told you I'd been in fights. Let me hear this. I haven't seen this.
I was invited. I was like, hopefully we get along and have a fucking dope conversation.
We got along. It was fun.
Dude, I have massive respect. You know, Bryan's a crazy motherfucker. I tell a story. You know, that whole school down there was I wanted to tell this story about Bryan because he.
Bryan Callen?
Yeah. Fucking, he's hilarious.
So, this guy's accent tells me he beats people pretty hard.
Tony Ortiz is one of the senior students of Master Choi. Another guy, we'll call him Chuck, but he's with the government now. He's a fucking bad motherfucker. So they always used to go around and want to fight bouncers and all this shit. That was what they did. They would fucking fight the biggest, scariest looking motherfuckers and just destroy them. So Blue worked... I said his name, sorry, but with Cro-Mags and stuff. We took him out, security with us in case we had problems or whatever. So it was like everything always went smooth. So one time, I used to work at all the underground hip-hop clubs in New York. So my friend was doing a party, and it was all fucking deep Brooklyn heads, fucking like homeboys and shit, like the real deal, this hip-hop club. And I take Bryan, another dude from the school, and Tony, and we go over there. And Bryan is in the middle of the fucking dance floor doing the funky fucking white boy nerd dance, and all these fucking, and the floor just opens up, and these fucking black fucking hip-hop crazy fucking homeboys are like, yo, look at this motherfucking white boy, like, it's bugging, and he don't give a fuck. He's seriously like a fucking pisser to roll with. So then I'm like, yo, I gotta go, but listen, man, I know what y'all motherfuckers do. Don't start no shit. Please, it's my friend's club. So I get home, go to sleep, wake up the next day, get a fucking phone call. Yo, like, he didn't know that they were with me. He's like, yo, there was these 3 fucking karate experts in the club last night, and they beat up all my fucking bouncers, dude. It was fucking crazy. Like, and one bouncer walked up and started some shit with Tony was trying to talk to a girl, whatever. And then, like, you know, this guy, he's all on the juice, rips off his shirt, like, fucking Tony throws a kick, fucking dislocates the guy's fucking kneecap. And then
the knee, first move, the knee.
The melee just ensued, and it was just constant. These fucking huge bouncers coming at him, and Bryan's like, bah, 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 fucking. Bryan could fight. Bryan is, you know.
Look at Joe saying nothing.
He's a comedian, but he could throw down. And then Bryan just told me this because I didn't hear the other part. He goes, yeah. Then all of a sudden, I'm fucking whacking these dudes, and we're fighting these guys, and then this fucking gigantic motherfucker, like, I was just like a little fucking baby in his arms, lifts me up and carries me out the fucking door and throws me across this car. And I look, and I turn around, and I'm ready to go, and then Bryan says, and I look, and it's this fucking crazy white dude with a fucking scar from one end of his face down his throat, and he points at Bryan and goes, don't even think about it. And like Bryan was like, yo. But my friend called me up the next day. He's like, these motherfuckers. And I call him up, and I'm like, Bryan, the fuck did you do, man? I told you guys to fucking keep chill. He's like, yo, these bouncers were assholes. And it was he's a character. Like I said, I was at his first comedy show ever.
He lived a wilder life in his young days.
Yeah.
I met him after all that stuff. I met him when he was more calm. I met him in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they were in big Master Choi.
Anyway, I wish I was crazier. That makes me sound like a tough guy, which I never was. But I did get in. I did that story is funny because what really was going on was we were at the club, we were kind of drinking, and I never looked for fights. I never, But when you're young and you're flirting with your own mortality and you're training, and this is before jiu-jitsu, and I wrestled and I was obsessed with taekwondo.
You don't want to only hit tennis balls against a wall. You want to play a match.
What I always say for me, being the pussy that I am, but at least I did go to tournaments, and back then you did fight. You did try to knock each other out. Taekwondo, like when you're like in tournaments, you people get knocked out. You get knocked out, and you do kick people, and you do. And my teacher was a boxer, so we would practice hitting mitts and stuff like that.
I got to green belt.
Well, yeah, but so I was obsessed with it, and I tried to be the guy I'm not, which is be a real fighter.
Right.
But in this particular case, we were there, and these fucking two dudes. I'm with my buddy, and I'm just there to try to pick up girls. And this fucking guy rips his shirt off. And I remember going, that's the best body I've ever seen. He wasn't even the bouncer. He was just this big, huge, muscular guy. And then my buddy is standing in front of him, and this fight kind of breaks out over here, this kind of shoving match. And he looks at my buddy, and he pushes my buddy. And so my buddy just goes, bop, 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 and like just catches him. And then the guy next to him, he pulled his shirt off, and he had the best. Again, I remember going, that guy has such a good body, and he came at me, and then he wasn't a fighter, and I was doing that, But I was so jealous of how big and muscular and handsome he was that it added to my insecurity and my, anyway. And when I hit him, instead of fighting back, he grabbed his face.
Yeah.
It wasn't what I thought it would be. And
you don't get punched in the face.
But the guy, the truth, to forget all that stuff, what really happened to me was, as I'm fighting this guy and then this other guy, it became a melee. I got grabbed by a giant man who started running me out, and my buddy, who's a slick fucker, he goes, get him out of here, because he was going to get thrown out. But he was pretending to help the guy throw me out. He goes, he's a fucking asshole. I saw him hitting him. Let's go. No, I'm helping him. And because they were going to try to throw him out. So he ran out with him as he's yelling at me, pretending, yeah, you piece of shit, get him out. And the guy took me, I never forgot this. This is not an exaggeration. From the door, I remember he threw me, and I went, oh, I'm telling you this. This is not, I flew over the sidewalk and onto the car. Wow. I landed for real. Like, think about that. How big is a New York sidewalk? He threw
6
me.
7 feet.
I don't know what it is, but I remember going through the air, and I landed on the hood of the car, and I turned around. I was in a frenzy, and I was like, and I did. I saw this giant dude. I remember he had this scar, and he was older. He was probably 38, and but a man, and a bear, and there was nothing. My taekwondo is no good here.
You get in the stance.
Your high school wrestling taekwondo. You're 155 or whatever I was. I would have gotten fucking, and I did. He said, "Don't think about it." And in that moment, I went. I sobered up, and I went, oh, okay. Yeah, no problem. I'm not mad anymore.
Bigness is fascinating.
Yeah, that kind of bigness. The way the bodybuilding stuff, to me, when you spend your enough time, even now with boxing and stuff, if I see some giant muscle guy who's all muscular who really spends time on it, I'm going to fight that guy. The guy I'm not going to fight is the athlete. The guy I'm afraid of is the young dude who's got his ears, or he's got a neck. I look at thighs, neck, and hands.
The neck is a real, because you're like, I'm going to punch him in the head, and his head's not going to go anywhere.
And also, by the way,
calves,
be afraid of everybody.
Big calves?
Yeah.
Thighs are if a guy's got a big ass, you're going to lose.
Or he's just a dude. There are plenty of guys who look like nothing who will change your whole life.
They're the ones.
By the way, John Joseph, John Joseph, that's the real deal. Like, he's real. See, I'm not. I love that he says I'm crazy and all.
Fighting is so fascinating.
I wasn't.
Fighting,
I grew up money with a family. I'm a pussy. Boarding school. I wasn't. I'm a pussy. That guy, that's the guy in the Lower East Side who used to meet me at Houston Street because he had to walk me to his house on Ludlow. Because that's how the Lower East Side, he grew up with no family. He grew up, they called him Mighty Whitey in jail. He went to Spofford.
Wow.
John grew up harder than anybody I knew. And John, in 1985, 1986, 1987, when none of you were born, in the Lower East Side, when the expression was A, you're adventurous, you go to Avenue, B, you're bold, C, you're crazy, and D, you're dead, John lived down there. And I met people through John, from Hell's Angels to you name it, everybody respected John. And everybody knew what John was capable of.
Yeah.
John was real. And John had the true street cred. Like that accent and all that, he grew up for real. John had tattoos on his body in 1987. You didn't know anybody who had tattoos. John was covered in, John would shredded, built like a brick shit house, and would wear overalls only and walk down the street in the Lower East Side and was a vegetarian, was a Hare Krishna at 13, because that's all he had. So John is a man with tremendous character, and I love him. That's one of the best people I know.
People who know
one of the best people I know.
Have the ability to quickly...
Well, he didn't have a choice. So there's a difference between guys who train and guys like that who really grew up on the street.
Yeah.
Really squatted in buildings. Really had no family.
Yeah.
Really had... Here's what I wanted to say this about him because it's important. I saw John... When John had no money, John would never take money. Like you could never lend John money. I don't give a fuck how broke he was. I remember one time it was the winter time and John had no money, no money at all. And I said, "What are you going to do?" And he goes, "I'll figure it out." And there was a guy there who was a homeless guy who John saw it was too cold, and John had $5, and John needed that $5. He really did, and he gave it to the guy. And then John gave him his coat. Jeez. That's for real.
Yeah.
John gave him his coat in the wintertime because John didn't want to see, because he knew this homeless guy. And John didn't want to see him cold. I've seen that motherfucker give when it really counted. I've never done that in my life. So, I've never given when it really hurt. I give to money and I give to people, but I never give. I don't know who I am I don't know who I am in those situations.
You've never given a thing you didn't know you were going to be able to get back.
Yeah, but I get it back. No, I've never given anything that cost me.
Yeah.
I've never been in that position. Yeah. I don't know who I am. He knows who he is.
People that I find people that have been to prison and grew up really, really hard, they actually are some of the most empathetic people you'll ever meet in your entire life.
That's right.
They'll listen to the whole story like, well, he's in jail. Well, why?
Yeah.
Well, what happened? They want to know it all because they know a lot of people that have put in situations out of their control and got caught up.
Yeah.
You can get caught up.
Yeah.
There are certain instances that are and what are you going to do when you have no other choices? All of us like to look down on people that steal, but if you have nothing and no choices, you're going to fucking do what you have to do.
Yep. I mean,
which is why I'm taking all this podcast.
I could tell you stories about John that I know are true.
I'm taking this laptop that monitors mine. Fucking people. Look at you, extra monitor. How dare you?
I know.
It's a big monitor.
Here I am.
It's beautiful.
I've always felt lucky. I've always felt very privileged and lucky.
I'm
John was always a reminder of how lucky and good I had it.
Yeah. You need people in your life like that who are like you did so well. You're like, well, I had it pretty exceptionally easy in comparison.
I still got my dad and mommy and daddy. I can still call them.
Your parents are still alive?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Your parents are not.
My father is not.
Your father, yeah. That's a very sad story to me. I think about it all the time.
It was a weird one.
Yeah. You were close to your dad?
Yeah.
Kevin's dad froze to death, right?
He got lost hiking and froze to death.
Yeah. In Big Bear, right?
Near Big Bear, a place called Green Valley Lake.
Wow.
Yeah.
Terrible.
You know what's funny, or not funny, but when he bought
funny about that?
When he bought that cabin, I mean, his whole life he was like, Kevin, you have to promise me something. If I'm in a hospital dying, you can't let me die in a hospital. Take me to the woods and let me die in the woods. Wow. When he bought the cabin, he was like, oh, it's great up there. I hike all the time. I go, you're going to fall in the woods and I'm going to have to go looking for you. And he kind of laughed. He's like, well, I mean, yeah, that's how I'd like to go. I was like,
oh, how old was he when he?
60.
60. Too young.
Too young.
Healthy?
Yeah. Healthy as shit. He wanted to go on He knew it was going to snow and rain, and he wanted to go on one last hike before the weather came in because he knew he wouldn't be able to hike for like 3, 4, 5 days. And that's all he loved doing was hiking in the woods. And the storm, because I drove up in it that night, it was raining sideways, and he just couldn't see anything, so he couldn't figure out where he was to find his way back. And there'd been a fire up there, so there wasn't anything to build a real shelter under. He wedged himself kind of under a rock. But he also at that point he took his shoes off. He had hypothermia. So it was a wrap. They didn't find him for months.
Really?
Oh my God.
Yeah, because it snowed. Snowed on him. It was winter. And I mean, to say they found him isn't accurate. They found remnants.
Did you know that's what happened to him?
I mean, I knew he had talked to me enough over my life about. They searched for him for 10 days, but after a day, I was like, he's dead. I knew. I didn't want to say it because it was like these searchers, which these people are heroic. They do it for free. They pay for all their own gear, and they go up there and they just rip through the woods all day long trying to find people. I knew they weren't going to find him because he knew enough about. If he had been able to get himself out, he would have.
Yeah.
And so after day 2, I was like, in my head, I was like, look, this is a fool's errand.
Was he married?
Yeah. My stepmom.
Man, what a fucking bummer.
You
got siblings?
I have an adopted brother and 2 stepsisters. I'm a biologically
and they
only
took
child.
it hard.
Everyone took it hard. He was a super good dude. He was like a beloved dude.
How do you not take that hard?
But again, he was like elementary school teacher his whole life. When he retired, the kids wrote a song about him. Like he was a beloved dude.
Wow.
He was the most straight-laced man I've ever met. Yeah. Like a real nerd, not a like designer nerd like I am. He was a real like short sleeve shirt and tie. Like everything was brown. Never spent any money. My dad wanted to buy a Lexus his whole life, and every time he would go to get a new car, he would test drive a Lexus and then buy a Toyota Avalon because he knew they were the exact same car.
Yeah, they are.
And he could not get himself to spend an extra $15,000 on a logo.
He's smart.
And all he ever spent money on was golf equipment. A real nerd. When I was 25, I go, I feel like I don't like fun. He goes, yeah, I don't like it either. That's how we are. Never drank, never did drugs.
Really?
Yeah, even in Vietnam. Tried pot once in Vietnam.
Jesus. Amazing, man.
Yeah, he was a good dude.
I think about it a lot because it was so shocking when I heard that your dad had died that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I think about it a lot because it's such an uncommon way to go. And such a scary way too, you know?
Yeah.
But
it was odd. I mean, it took me a really long. I'm not to say I'm over it now, but it kind of sidelined my like emotional and intellectual growth for like a decade.
Did it really?
Yeah. Now I realize it because it's been about 10 years where I was like, it's been 10 years. I was like a ghost for a while.
Yeah, because I spoke to you shortly after it, I think, and I noticed I was taken with how even keeled you are, but that's how you are. I mean, you're not going to let me know about how terrible it was. But I remember I thought about it a lot. I mean, I thought about it a lot. That's really, really, really hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that you know how to deal with stuff like that. I try. I mean, I went into therapy after Neil Brennan. After like a few years, he was like, he goes, "You're turning into a cunt." I was like, "What do you mean?" I literally thought I was perfectly fine. He's like, "Dude, you're turning into a cunt." He's like, "You're negative." I mean, honestly, that dude probably, you can make the case he saved my life. He was like, "You need a therapist." I mean, and my friends had been like, "You should go to therapy," but no one ever did anything. Neil found one in an hour. Here's this person.
Good for Neil.
He was like, where he knew I needed one like on that side of town.
Shout out to Neil Brennan. Man.
And he was like, here's a number, and I was in therapy a week later.
Wow.
And that is what slowly started to help.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't know it, but I was a kind of angry at existence and the world and just the chaos of life that I couldn't quantify. I was snapped. I mean, that's why I got divorced. I was just like angry.
I didn't know you were married.
I was married. And like just mean. And because it was like, it wasn't like I was mean to the person necessarily, so much as I was like, I would say things like, "You should get away from me. You'll have a better life." It was that kind of like, I can't fix this.
Isn't that amazing how trauma can create
It's really fascinating. I mean, I'm an incredibly lucky person, but there's been a lot of death. But I'm at the same time so lucky otherwise. But there's just I don't know.
It doesn't mean it doesn't suck.
No, it is the catch-22 of existence. Everyone you know will die.
I know.
And after a certain age, at my age now, I'm 41.
Yeah.
Now's the time where your friends start getting surprise diseases.
Dude, tell me about it. I know. I've been really thinking about, like, this has been the year where everything good happened to me, like, in a way. And I'm like, but I've been reading a lot and really, really getting into listening to, bring up Alan Wallace. I've been listening to a lot of Buddhism and a lot of.
I'm on some old school, like, Be Here Now shit. Like Ram Dass, just like nothing is real.
Yeah,
we are literally
the impermanence of life. Right?
He did a short documentary about how he's kind of like really getting really old and he's going to die soon. Did we pause?
No.
Okay, and he's like he knows he's going to die.
Yeah.
He spent his whole life thinking about it, and he goes, death is taking your foot out of a tight fitting shoe. And I was like, you motherfucker. He goes, it's just a change.
That's
I was
awesome.
like, you motherfucker.
Death is taking.
He had a stroke, so he needs all this help. Like, people take him to the ocean and
bring
float
up a YouTube
him.
of Alan Wallace. I want you to listen to how he speaks.
He said something
this
really...
This guy's a Rinpoche too, and he's like friends with the Dalai Lama, but he's a Buddhist scholar and also a monk. And when you hear him talk, listen to his voice. I'm sorry, I want to hear what you're saying. Tell me more about what.
Oh, so he has a stroke, so he needs all this help. People like take him to the ocean to float him around. He goes, being dependent has taught me so much because you meet the people that are dependable. I was like, you motherfucker. We're so ashamed of like needing help. Yeah. Like I had to have a bunch of surgery this year, and like, you know, I hate asking for help of any kind, but I had to help. And the first day I'm home, first of all, my friend Leslie Grossman, brilliant comedic actor, and Whitney Cummings are fighting over who gets to drive me. I show up home, I'm there for an hour. Steve Howie's making soup in the kitchen. That's Whitney's there. They both are fighting over who gets to go buy vegetables and shit. Jesus. And I'm like, I'm a fucking lucky bastard over here.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to, like, this is when you need it. If you the people that love you will show up and you're like, Jesus, I didn't even know.
That's Steve Howie making you soup.
Oh, with that body? Just all of
hopefully
every bit of. I have a picture of it. If I put it on the internet, women would sprint towards him. Yeah. This guy's making a vegetable soup because I don't eat meat.
Yeah.
He bought all these unnecessary groceries and shit. Just he was so excited to finally help me.
Right.
Same with Whitney. It was just like, hi, this is, but you meet the dependable when you become dependent. Yeah. Fascinating.
That's really cool.
But yeah, shame is stupid.
Listen to Alan Ball talk. Listen to
psychology in the same mood, and so with that same mood, he proposed that psychologists like Darwin, like Galileo.
All right, never mind. You got it's a bad.
But no, I'm trying to be on this shit now too, where it's like, I want to pull myself out of the thing that the world is in right now.
Well,
the timing of it.
But human beings, it's not just the world. It's the human condition is to want all the time.
Yeah.
You define yourself on your desires, but you go from want to want to want.
Yeah.
And the Buddhists have this idea of stepping outside of that.
Mm-hmm. It's why people ask me all the time, do you sell your art and why? And I say no, and they go, why not? And I goes, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't. The making it is the thing to me. Yeah. It doesn't. The painting's like a receipt. Do you frame the receipt from a meal you liked? Not really. Exactly. You keep the receipt from a concert you went to, like kinda, but it doesn't matter. This is the timing we think exists now, especially in the age of social media. Showbiz timing isn't real. Like, staffing season. That's not a real thing.
Yeah.
There's a great book called The History of Time, and it talks about when they split from mechanical time to farm time or sun time. Because it's not the same. Mm. If you go by the sun, it's like 15 minutes off.
Yeah.
Well, which one's real? Which one are you going to depend? Which one can you argue is real? One's nerd time, and the other one's like Earth time. So I'm going to be like, fuck you, Earth time. Dork over here came up with another thing. He's got this system.
Right.
And from then on, we just subscribe to this. All these various ideas. It's like when you tell my brother. I talked about my dad on Marin, and my brother after the fact was like, what you said isn't entirely true. Like, because I was making fun of on the way home, he wanted to get beef jerky, and I thought it was funny. And, like, he asked the rescuers if he could go in the helicopter. Like, to look. Because there was this helicopter. He's like, he's going to go in the helicopter?
For that?
Yeah. Which is, in retrospect, hilarious. Yeah. And also, God bless, he's trying to enjoy himself during the worst 10 days of any of our lives.
And help.
And he's like, that's not what happened. And then he tells Jimmy, and I'm like, maybe your memory's right and mine's wrong. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
It's why I don't talk about relationships, my past relationships, in a way that's like, well, this is what happened.
Well,
I don't fucking know.
That Robert Evans quote, there's 3 sides to every story: your side, my side, and the truth, and nobody's lying.
Literally, no one's lying.
Yeah.
Perception is so relative.
Perception is everything.
Everything.
I mean,
so the notion, that's, as I get older, I just get quieter.
There's the idea of history from my perspective, which is from the winner's perspective, a Western man's perspective, versus history from someone from China, someone from Vietnam, someone from Russia.
World War II from the Russian perspective?
There you go.
We came in and saved everybody. They're like, honey.
Yeah. What's history? Yeah, what's history like? Don't do drag. That's not how they talk. They don't go, honey.
Yeah, they do.
But I like that that's permeated into the Russian mindset post World War II. You see what happens?
You know,
when
Russia needs drag.
Russia needs drag. Well,
there's a really good drag queen named Katya that's a Russian character. That's his whole thing. It's brilliant. He's really funny.
Katya.
Katya and Trixie, they have a YouTube show that is insanely popular.
Really?
Yeah, they're hilarious.
Katya and what?
Trixie.
All right. Mark that down.
All right, we'll do.
Kevin Christy, this has been good.
I miss you.
You're goddamn good.
I never get to talk to you. I routinely describe you as the funniest person I've met.
You hear that?
More funny words per sentence than most people.
Thank you, sir.
You've kept yourself in shape.
Yes, sir.
You're still at a fighting weight, whether you want to fight or not.
I'm ready.
I'm
always a couple weeks out, bro.
But where you live so far away, it'd be hard to play tennis.
I know.
Jay Larson plays tennis too. You guys,
where do you live?
I live in Los Feliz.
It'll never happen. That's the problem with Kirk Box too. You know what though? I'll videotape it. I'll send it to you. And
we'll make some tapes. Yeah. But eventually we could find Beverly Hills Tennis Club, sort of in the middle. La Cienega and like Pico.
Yeah.
They got a nice court.
Do you have to go back, or do you want to grab lunch?
I got to go back. I got to walk the dog.
Oh, yeah, you're going to be Los Feliz.
Yeah, it's going to take. By the way, to get here, more street. If not for Google Maps,
I know.
It's amazing.
I know what we did. Where is Brendan this weekend?
He is in
Austin.
No, Dallas.
Dallas,
Texas.
Go see Brendan in Dallas. Dallas Improv, everybody.
Talk about a hairline.
I'm not doing any stand-up right now.
Talk about a hairline.
August 30th, I am having a show at the Comedy Store. Get your tickets. I'm going to have a crazy lineup. You can imagine.
Those lineups you have are pretty insane.
Yeah.
Pretty insane.
If you're around, you want to do one of my shows?
I would love to.
All right. We'll talk.
I drove here to be on a podcast.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank Kevin Christy. I want to thank you.
Back on my phone case, Jinkx Monsoon.
Jinkx Monsoon, I want to thank her as well for making the world
a more
interesting place.
Way better.
Yeah. This is The Fighter and the Kid. We're out.